expectations. My name is Edward Monene, and it's such a joy and a privilege for me to be help, sort of facilitating and hosting the rerun, just like I did with the initial, working in financial freedom, masterclass that happened on Saturday. I am an author, and I teach quite a number of things out of just the materials that I've written. And one of them is a book called Walking in Financial Freedom that people have used, to be able to look at finances, be able to deal with the issues of finances. And I've just seen people's lives so radically transformed as they begin to master their money, because money is a very bad master, but it's also an amazing servant. Because if you master your money and you make it your servant, it's a great thing. But if you let money master you, I've seen people destroyed by the same. And so I have seen people take a hold of the knowledge shared out of the book, Walking in Financial Freedom, and the class that we offer, because there's a class we offer called Walking in Financial Freedom that takes 10 weeks. And we've just seen lives really transformed. And so it's that class actually that hosted the masterclass last week as a way of just saying, hey, come in, come learn, and go implement these things, and they will change your life. And you will see that as we go through the rerun of the masterclass today. And you'll be able to just see how impactful this material is. If you have a friend, somebody out there that you can be able to invite, somebody out there that you can be able to bring along and just tell them, hey, you need to watch this together with me. I believe that they will be greatly blessed, greatly challenged, and this can literally change their lives forever. This material here can literally change their lives forever. And so I believe that together we'll be able to have an awesome time together. And so please go ahead and invite them and just tell them, hey, come in, let's do this together. Let's have an amazing learning time together. And I believe that their lives will never, ever be the same again. And so thank you for those of you who have already shared. Let me go ahead and, because I've already introduced myself, let me go ahead and read some of your expectations, and then we'll be good to go. So Gladys says, how to do better with my finances. I feel I've been doing badly. Thank you, Gladys. Candy says, I'd like to learn on preparing for retirement. All right, thank you. Winnie says, I'm going through a transition and taking a risk I have never taken. I want to get the finances. I want to get the finances right. To do as much as I can to fix the finances bit of the new venture. Thank you, Winnie. Kadenge says, I'm expecting to learn about financial freedom. I joined in late on Saturday, so I missed a lot on the first part. All right. And so Gladys and Candy, you were here on Saturday. And so I believe that you'll be able to get that. Somebody else writes, I normally say if somebody writes to me on Zoom privately, a direct message, not the public message that everyone sees, then I don't read their name, but I normally read the question. And so somebody writes to me directly and says, I don't understand where I go wrong. I was in the first class, but after a while, I failed. And so that person says they went through the Walking in Financial Freedom class, it impacted them. It was a great help, but then after a while they failed. And so they want to know, where do I normally go wrong? Okay. And I believe that just out of being here tonight, this should impact you greatly. I believe so. And so thank you, every one of you who is already here. Let me just say a big welcome. I may not have read out your names, those of you who have come late, but we are just about to get this ball rolling. And I believe that together we'll be able to have a great night, of learning and all. And for those of you who might be wondering, I'm just waiting for somebody who was who is setting up. There's something they should have set up, but then they realized that there was a problem. And so they quickly told me, Pastor, hold on before you go live so that we can be able to sort out a problem. So that's what we are sorting out and then we'll be good to go. And I believe just checking to see what message they have written to me, but I believe we should be ready to go. We should be ready to go right now. Yeah, so here we are good to go if I am not wrong. Just a moment. I'm just reading their messages and getting ready for that. Okay. We should be good to go. I believe so. And so just a moment and we'll be good to go. Just give me a little more time. And sorry for holding you all, and you're here, you're ready to go. But then it looks as though there's a little challenge. Just a moment. While it looks as though I am holding you back, is because you're communicating with the person and just waiting to see them saying we are ready to go live. Okay, I think we are good to go now. All right, we are back. If this doesn't work, because if this doesn't work, we're still going to go on with what we have here. And so, having explained what I've already explained, let me just recap that very quickly. I encourage you, if there was anyone who was going to wait on Zoom, on YouTube or Facebook, because I am not sure we might be ready to go on Facebook and YouTube, I would encourage that you go ahead and get a hold of them and bring them to Zoom because we are ready to go without any issue whatsoever on Zoom. And so if we can be able to do that, it's going to be lovely. And I believe that we'll be able to handle this together so that we don't keep waiting and wasting time trying to get Facebook and YouTube ready. We will try and see if it will work, but if it doesn't work, we will not necessarily keep that or keep holding that. As I said earlier, my name is Edward Monene, and I am glad to be hosting our Zoom session for today. And I believe that together we'll be able to just cover a lot and be able to learn as we do this rerun. And we run a class called Walking in Financial Freedom. I'll be mentioning a little bit about that later on. And that's the basis of this stream, this rerun, this masterclass. Now, having said that, let's go ahead and pray and we get started. Father, we thank you for just the opportunity for us to be able to learn together today as we do this rerun out of the class we did on Saturday. My prayer is that, Lord, you would direct and lead us in all that we do here today. I pray that, Father, we will learn. I pray that we will grow. I pray that we will be challenged and equipped. And I pray that, Father, everything will work out well without any issue whatsoever. We trust you for this and ask that you may guide us in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to run, I believe. we are ready to learn. And so at this point, I'd like to go ahead and just bring Edward Monene together with our first presenter out of the masterclass on Saturday, so that we can be able to just learn. Are you ready? Do you have your notes? Here comes. I'm excited to be here, and I'm so excited to be sharing with every one of us. And I believe that our time together is going to be a very beneficial time. As I said earlier on, because we opened this, room early on, and there are people that came in quite on time, 2:20, 2:15, there are people already in here. Allow me to say that, this is open. We are not charging for this. This is open. It's free for anyone to be able to attend. And so you can be able to pick the same link that brought you here, and you can be able to share that with as many people as you can, and just tell them there's a free masterclass, and you need to join in. You need to be there, because this will benefit them. This will help them greatly. And so if you could help us be able to do that, so that we can reach as many people as possible, we can be able to engage with as many people as possible. And so please go ahead and do that. Walking in financial freedom. It's not a sprint in financial freedom, because I know people want to get rich. I know people want to have freedom. I know people want to live without financial issues. And so what people tend to do is they want to be rich quickly. They want to be rich quickly. It's a reason why there are so many Ponzi or pyramid schemes that exist, because of just the desire people have of being rich quickly, get rich quickly. Those schemes don't work. Proverbs chapter 13, verse number 11, the Bible says, wealth from get rich quick schemes quickly disappears. Wealth from hard work grows over time. It grows over time. And so it takes hard work to be able to say, I will build this, I will build this, I will build this. People have lost money, and people continue to lose money all the time because of the desire to get rich. But allow me to say also, it's possible to build wealth. And wealth is not built hastily. It's gathered little by little, and you're able to increase it. And there are principles that people have used. There are principles that people have put into place, and they've been able to build that and be able to grow themselves. And we will be sharing some of that wisdom today, because allow me to say, it's possible to live debt-free. It's possible to be able to build wealth. It's possible to be able to grow not just your direct income, but be able to grow your passive income and come to the place where you're able to meet your needs, you're able to pay your bills, and you're able to give, you're able to bless, you're able to do things that leave a legacy of a man or a woman that really lived a life that made a difference. I read for us Proverbs 13, verse 11, wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. Proverbs 28, verse number 19 and 20, the Bible says, whoever works his land will have plenty of bread, but he who follows worthless pursuits will have plenty of poverty. A faithful man will abound with blessings, but whoever hastens to be rich will not go unpunished. And one of my favorite verses, the Bible says that the slave is a borrower the slave is it says the borrower is slave, sorry, the borrower is slave to the lender. And I'd like to just read that one verse, and then I will introduce our first guest. Proverbs 22, verse number 7, the rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender. And I keep saying all the time when I teach Walking Financial Freedom class, that that the rich rule over the poor, because the poor many times are always at the place where they're borrowing and they're spending their money without being careful. And so they find themselves at the place where they become slaves to those who rule over them. And so, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for inviting your friends. Thank you. If you haven't done so, go ahead and do so right now. Invite all your friends and tell them, join together with me. We're going to have a masterclass, and this is going going to be transformational. Now, having said that, I'd like to invite our first guest, our keynote speaker for today, for him to go ahead and share this. If you're here and you're a pastor, I've seen some pastors, please invite everyone in your church. If you're here and you have friends, you are maybe a company boss or something like that, go ahead and invite everyone you can. Let's have a great time together. All of you who are, you have siblings, invite them. You have friends, invite them. Your relatives, invite them. This will impact them greatly. Our first guest, our first keynote speaker for today is Leonard Mucharo. Leonard Mucharo is the founder and the CEO, I believe, of Savo. Savo is a real estate. I don't want to call it a real estate company because I'm one of their customers, and I've observed and looked at what they do, and I'm like, no, this is not real estate. This is a little bit more than this. And I'd like to invite Leonard to come in and share with us. And Leonard, if you could give us some of your testimonies that have been very transformational and impactful to people, because at some point you quit work because you are ready to retire. And you have been, not only have you built wealth for yourself, you've been able to impact and transform and affect the lives of other people. And so, Leonard, go ahead. I can see you're ready. Your video is on and your mic is on. It's good to have you here on this platform, ready to share with us on the Walking in Financial Freedom Masterclass. And so over to you, Leonard.
Mchungaji, thank you. Thank you very much. I hope everyone can hear me.
I can hear you and I can see you.
Fantastic, fantastic. All right, my name is Leonard Mucharo. Let me try and get this right. I'm Leonard Mucharo. I am born again, and I am financially independent. I think that is the reason for this meeting today.
Yes, and that's very key.
Exactly. I am husband to one wife, and together we have two sons. We make our home in Kiambu. We tell our parents we live in Nairobi, but the fact is we actually live in Kiambu, and we have our office here. I have with me two gentlemen. There's Richard and Jonathan. Guys, are you there?
Okay. Who are they? I can give them permission to unmute.
Oh yes, yeah, Jonathan and Richard Oteba.
Is that Jonathan Owino?
Yes, Jonathan Owino and Richard Oteba.
Okay, they can unmute.
Guys, if you're there, you can just introduce yourselves for 30 seconds, 1 minute.
Maybe I can go first.
Sure.
I'm still trying to show my video, but I don't think that's necessary. So my name is Jonathan Ochieng Owino, financial independence partner working with Savo. I've had the pleasure of working under the stewardship of Mr. Leonard Mucharo. And here I'm just born again. And I'm just happy to be a part of the conversation. Maybe as we get to converse more, we'll be able to see how best to find a mutual relationship between us. So thank you guys for having me, and I'm looking forward to a great session.
Wonderful. Karibu, Jonathan. Richard, are you there?
Yes. Hi, everyone. It's such a pleasure being here. And my name is Richard Oteba. I work at Savo. I sit under the mentorship of Leonard Mucharo. And yeah, I'm here to learn. I'm here to listen. And I'm here to connect. The goal is the same. Freedom all the way. And I'm glad to have had an opportunity to be here today. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks, guys. The reason I came with these gentlemen is because they will help me with answering some questions will be very personal. Maybe you want specific answers or you want specific information. Mchungaji, if you can allow them to maybe put their numbers there, then they can answer those. People can ask them directly. Also, they'll help me share some information. If you want maybe a link to a video or something, they'll be able to just put there what is necessary, because I know I'll try as much as possible to address the issues, but I know I might not be able to address all of them. So having said that, I thought I wait, because I think it'll give you about 40 minutes to share, and then maybe 10, 20 minutes to answer the questions. But I'll try as much as possible to make my sharing brief, so then I can increase the amount of questions people might have, because I would like to be relevant. Mchungaji, I must thank you. I think this is the second time I am in your platform. I must thank you that when you teach the members of your congregation, you see that it's important that they prosper spiritually, and they sponsor in they prosper in the things of this world. I think that's key, because I think part of being ministers of the gospel, and which I believe all of us are, the evidence of our lives needs to be felt, needs to be seen. It can't just be heard, it needs to be seen. I'm also grateful that you really share, I think both the last time and today, you share widely from the book of Proverbs. It's a book I've studied for many years now. And I would just urge everyone, if you can, give yourself a challenge for a month, 2 months, a year, 2 years. I think I'm now in my 4th year. Every day, just read a proverb. It's one. It's a very practical book, very practical to everyday living, from issues of hard work to wealth to, just life itself. Proverbs will give you quite a lot. But let me not preach today. Let me share a little about financial independence. So, as you've been told, I have the honor of leading a company called Savo. Savo is a real estate investment company. And our purpose is to enable investors achieve financial independence through low risk, high return, affordable, amazing apartments. Why is that important? Why do I start there? Because I believe that financial independence is really not about money, or it's not just about money. Financial independence, I think, is a matter of dignity. I'm sure we have some people here who are much younger. We have some people like myself here who are, past 45 and growing older. And all of us have probably seen our parents or uncles and aunties who are doing well when they were young and working, and are really struggling now that they're in retirement. So the question is, what do you need to do now to ensure that when those days come, because they will come, you are ready? I think in scripture, David talks about the valley of the shadow of death. It will come. Jesus talks about the winds and the floods. Those will come. So where is your house built? If you've built your house on the sand, it will look flashy. And unfortunately, that's what we have now, from advertising to lifestyle. It's all about how things look. But I think we should be more concerned with how things actually are. And that's what I think salvation is all about. And that's what I think financial independence is all about, how things really are. Are you grounded on the rock, or are you faking it? Hopefully hoping that you'll make it, because the winds will come, the floods will come. That I think all of us can be guaranteed. So for us, we really focus on financial independence. We really focus on low risk, because again, as Mchungaji was saying, people want to get rich quick, and you do it by hook or by crook, get into all manner of schemes. It just doesn't work that way. If you don't take care of risk, your wealth will be wiped out. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but you keep taking big risks. And one of the men I really admire the most is called Warren Buffett. Says, risk is not knowing what you're doing. We've gone to school, even from home. Tumefundishwa tabia nzuri. You guys are from, you live in the coast, so you know we really value etiquette. Tumefundishwa tabia nzuri na maadili mema. You've gone to school, you've been taught mathematics and biology. You've gone to the workplace, you've been taught skills. It is, then somehow we believe that money will sort of sort itself out. I remember the song when you're young, so many vijana, muongeze pia bidii, mwisho wa kusoma mtapata kazi nzuri sana. They should have told us what to do after kupata kazi nzuri sana. That's where I think people need a lot of education. And part of this education that you require is risk management. And you only reduce risk by knowing what you're doing. So if you're going into maize farming, please understand maize farming. If you're going into whatever it is you're going into, understand what that thing in. It's only after you've mastered risk can you think about return. It's only after you've understood risk can you think about return. And you have to have both. If you're only focusing on low risk and then you're not making a move, you'll be stuck. You'll be stuck. You'll never move. But once you've understood risk, they do something that you know that gives you a return. And for us, because I'm an architect, what we know best is apartments. And they have to be amazing, they have to be affordable. And that's why we do apartments. So if you hear me dealing in oil, or dealing in wheat, or dealing in all manner of things, I'll be in the wrong place because I don't know those things. And then I'll be putting people at risk. But now, because we understand what we're doing, then we're able to deal with the risk. And everything we do at Savo focuses on that. And this kind of relentless focus for us has come because of our life's experiences. I can say my journey, this journey to financial independence really began in the late 90s, 1998. I don't know if that's mid 90s or late 90s. And a little story, and maybe these guys can share a video where I share more detail. I was seated at my desk and comes a beautiful young lady. I come into my class and I find a beautiful young lady seated at my desk studying. 25 years later, she'll be my wife of many years with the 2 grown-up children. And what happened is both of us had families which had a good past before, a nice financial past. My dad was a civil servant. Her late father had been a successful businessman. And her dad had passed away. My dad had retired. Well, practically he had been sacked from the civil service. And both of us were going through very, very, very difficult times. So we were very fortunate because right from the word go, we started talking about money. We didn't know much, but we started talking about money. That is before internet became a big thing. So any little pamphlet we could get, any little book we could get, we began to educate ourselves. So maybe you're talking about principles. So I've talked about risk being a major thing. Return is another one. And I'll talk more about return maybe a bit later, because return is you don't get a good return by focusing on you. You get a good return. You sort out risk by focusing on yourself and your understanding your temperament. You sort out a good return by focusing on God's other children, because the only way you'll make a profit, the only way you'll get a return is not to solve your problems. It is to solve other people's problems. Then it is other people who will pay you for solving their problems. I think that's another thing we need to realize as Christians. Love your neighbor as yourself. So if you focus on solving the problems of others, wealth will come to you. It's not magical. It's just a principle of nature. That is just how things are. Think about it. All of you have used products today. You have used Safaricom products. I can guarantee that. You have used Facebook products. I can guarantee that. We are here using Zoom products. Why? They are solving a problem we have. That's why we are willing to pay them for them, to solve a problem. So risk, return, knowledge. So right from the beginning, we began to educate ourselves and to ask and to talk. She was 19, I was 20, 23, 24. We were very, very young. but we began to just ask, what is this thing about? Then we realized we don't know anything. We don't know anything about money. We don't know anything about wealth. The only thing we knew is that our parents had some money and then it all disappeared. So we wanted to stop that from happening. We wanted to stop that from happening. So we learned and we started reading simple books. Now, what we did with the books, God helped us. We were sharp enough to understand the lessons they were teaching, but we were not intelligent enough to argue. We were not intelligent enough to argue with the authors. So we took what we understood and implemented it. What we didn't know, we left it away. So that's another thing that really helps. Getting knowledge, investing in yourself. That is probably the most important investment you can make. And books are cheap. Books are 1,000 shillings, 2,000 shillings, 3,000 shillings. If a book has been written, it's sold 1 million copies, buy one. Buy one, give it some time and read. The other thing that we learned was working together. If you're fortunate to have a spouse or a friend that you can walk this journey together, that is of inestimable value. Yeah. Is it Amos, the prophet, where it says, how do two walk together unless they are agreed? Do not be unequally yoked. So if you are married and your money is married, if you're speaking one language, I tell you, because every time you'll be foolish, either you or the other person. And when one of you is foolish, the other one is wise. They, you sort of lift each other up. So we started by seeking knowledge, but life happens. Remember the seed that is sown on the among thorns. Life happens. We moved very fast. We got married early, got a child early, school was there, we were broke. We forgot about the lessons that we learned. So it's like that that knowledge that was sown sort of disappeared. And I can pick another principle from there. Don't give up. You will start, you'll have false starts, but don't give up. You try it. I mean, from the day David was anointed until the day he became king. Chungaji, I don't know how many years those were, but I think 27, 30 years or thereabouts. It was a long time. So from the day a seed is sown into your mind, the Mchungaji here has taken his time to educate all of us. Until the day you actually get this thing rolling, you will have false starts, but don't give up. So we started, life happened, poop child number 1, poop child number 2, and it was 5 years later. And we realized we had nothing. When we met, we didn't have an income, but we ate, we drank, and we paid our bills somehow. After a while, I got a job. We ate, we drank, we paid our bills. 5 years later, both of us were working. We were eating, we were drinking, we were paying our bills. But at the end of the month, in all those 3 situations, we had no investments, we had no savings. We knew we were going down. Then we realized something. Your expenditure rises at the rate of your income. Your needs rise at the rate of your income. So please be very careful in defining what your needs really are. Because if you're not, as your income rises, so do your needs. You remember there was a time you could survive with 5K a month. I'm sure all of you do. Right now, if you're earning 50 Gs, Toshi, if you're earning 200,000 shillings, you are still struggling to make ends meet. Why? Because your needs rise at the same rate as your income. And you need to apply something called the wedge principle. Drive a wedge between your income and your needs. Drive that wedge between your income and your expenditure. Set your expenditure. Even if the income increases, say, this is what I'm going to spend. So anyway, it's 5 years later. We were living in Embakasi that time. And I told my wife, hey, we can't keep going this way. We need to buy land and build apartments and become landlords. And she laughed at me. I remember I said it's good when you're together, but at this time she actually laughed at me. And even in scripture, I'm sure you'll find 2-3 instances where wives laugh at their husbands for dreaming things that look impossible. And she told me, because that time I was working at the university, I was earning 15,000 shillings. She told me, people like you are supposed to be focusing to pay the rent, not trying to be landlords. But like Martin Luther King, I had a dream, and dreams are free. For you who are dreamers, dreams are free. Envision it, dream it. and hopefully you will be able to change your action to fit into that dream. So in that discussion, I said, let me go to Kitengela and look for land. I went to Kitengela, I found land was very expensive, so I couldn't afford. That time, an eighth of an acre was going for 250. So I found my way into Daystar University. And I had a brother then, and he told me, no, I'm in college, and college is expensive. College hostels are expensive. If you build hostels, you'll make money. So I went, got land, and somehow when you have a dream and you push yourself, there are these people, I think in church circles, we call them destiny helpers. They always show up. I think they're always there, just that we never, me, therefore we don't meet them. So going to look for land, I met a lady called Mrs. Mulandi. One of her sons is a pastor. So maybe some of you might know him. He's called Pastor Zabo. And I told her my story and what I wanted. And she told me something very interesting. Vijana kama wewe ndio mimi napenda. People who have a dream and no money. And she allowed me to buy land from her and pay over 36 months. 3 years. I mean, people are actually given 3 months. She gave me 3 years to pay. Can you imagine that? I used to pay 27K a month. And that's why we have a payment plan to date. Because somebody helped me to pay for land that I could not afford. If I was to pay it, buy it at once. Remember the land in Kitengela was 250,000 shillings for an eighth of an acre. This lady sold to me an acre for almost $1 million. But because she gave me a payment plan, I could afford it. I knew within 3 years, I can raise $1 million. Even if then my salary was 15,000 shillings. And again, talk of dreams. Sometimes you have to see the cup as half full, as opposed to half empty. So long story short, we bought the land pole over a 3-year period, using design ingenuity and talking to my cousins who had some money. We brought them in as partners. Again, togetherness. Some things you can't do alone. I brought in my partner, my cousin and her husband, and they put in some money, and we built hostels, and we started. And we took about 15 years to build those hostels. 15 years. Again, you cannot do it in a hurry. We started the journey in 2004, and we were done in about 2019. And it got to 99 houses. By 2019, we are done with the house, we had paid our loans, everything was done. 15 years, but we got 99 houses. But earlier than that, the beauty about traveling an amazing journey. Talking about amazing journeys, let me just go back to when you were young and we used to do door-to-door ministry. And we had this wonderful little book called The 4 Spiritual Laws. And I thought it was a masterpiece. And I think in the 4 Spiritual Laws, if I'm not wrong, it explains salvation, that when you believe at that point, you are saved from the penalty of sin, like pap, immediately. You see, that's salvation, pap. But as you live out your life, you are saved from the power of sin. That is, it's happening every day. And at the very end, you'll be saved from the presence of sin. That is the destination. I think that is the story of every epic journey. Even the journey of financial independence. Once you decide, you become financially independent immediately. And you're saved from the great enemy of financial independence, which is what I think most of us call baraka, I think. This thing called consumerism. You see me with new clothes and a fresh haircut and a nice car and a good home. Those things are called baraka. They're called blessings. But many times we get them out of greed. We get them because we borrowed money. We get them and we can't afford them. We get them to show off. We get them for all the wrong reasons. Then they bind us. You know, these blessings that we get, these things that we own, end up owning us. And that is dangerous. So once you start the journey of financial independence, first, you are transformed in your mind. Your mind is renewed. Yeah. So that is, you're saved from the power of consumerism now. But as you live on, the clothes that you call on you to buy them, the cars that wanted you to buy them, all these things, that power goes away. And if you do that long enough, we're not talking about eternity here, we're just talking about 15 years, you will be financially independent. And financial independence, I think as the Mchungaji said rightly, is having sufficient passive income that meets your needs, your wants, and your desires. By 2015, we had not yet finished our hostel, but we felt we were at a place where our passive income was more than our individual salaries. Because at the beginning, we had two salaries, my wife's salary and my salary. And the goal was to create a third salary that was equal to or more than either of one of ours. And the trick was, for us to create a third salary, we needed to live on one salary. So we have two salaries, live on one salary in order to create a third salary. This way, even if I got fired, these two should be enough. Even if both of us got fired, this one for investment will be enough. So I spent all my money on investments, and my wife used her money to keep the family afloat. Now, the reason I say financial independence is not just about money, it really worked wonders. And sorry, I'm interweaving the story and the lessons and all these things together. I'm really trying to pack in a lot of things, so forgive me. That journey to financial independence made us make that one move. I don't recommend it for everyone, but for those who can, try it, where the husband's salary is spent on investments and the wife's salary is spent on daily living. Meaning, when I wanted money for bus fare, I had to ask for it. She gave me money for lunch. She bought my clothes. You understand? Now, mimi niko na kiburi. Niko na kiburi, I think these two young men will tell you, niko na kiburi chandani sana. But that one act of having to depend on my wife for daily living taught me humility. And it taught us to talk. And having these big dreams and little cash taught us to converse and write down our goals. That's another goal. That's another principle. You need to write it down. If you look at all kings, that's why we can read the Proverbs here and Psalms. All kings had their pronouncements written down. Why? They understood this thing is important for future. So we learn to write down our goals. That is what I think the Swahili say. Yeah? We learn to write our goals. And over time, we have made those goals come true. Was it easy? No, it took time. And don't give yourself 5 years. Don't give yourself 3 years. Don't give yourself 3 months. If it has to be 3, let it be 3 generations. So we gave ourselves 15 years, and now our dream has expanded. Now in 2015, when we failed, actually from 2014, I turned 40. We realized we are now financial independence, or we can actually see it. It's near there. We felt we now wanted to live a life of purpose. Remember, at the beginning was about financial independence, which was about us. And to get that financial independence, we had to meet the needs of God's other children. And for us, it was students. So I'm an architect. My wife is a financial expert. She's an economist by training. She's CPA. She's a CFA. So she knows a lot about money. I know a lot about buildings. We came together. We built the hostels to meet the needs and wants of those people. But living a life of purpose now becomes bigger, because we didn't have to worry about school fees and about rent and about such things. Oh, by the way, rent, yeah. Up to now, I don't own a home, so that's a question that might come up later. But I don't believe in home ownership. I think Solomon is the one who says, take care of your outdoor work and then build your house. Most of us want to build our house and then take care of our outdoor. No. First, sort out your income and then build your house when the income is actually sorted out. So I will build a house at some point when I want to. But as I was on the journey, we did not build a home. So our rent, our fees, our food, all those things could be taken care of by the passive income, which for us was rent. We felt compelled. And at that age, you're asking yourself important questions. Why am I here? Why did God put me on this earth? And then we started Savo. And I'd want to urge you guys to just check out, just go there, just Savo Apartments or Savo City. You'll see a lot of information about Savo. And a lot of it will not be about the houses. A lot of the blogs and webinars and podcasts that we share are not about houses. They're about the mindset that lead you to financial independence. So I don't know. Maybe let me not talk too much about Savo because I wanted to give the story from back then, something that we can relate to. But Savo has been around for 7 years, from 2015 until now. Oh, this is the 8th year now. I think we are about to start our 18th project, including the one over the river, which we had started earlier. I think 7 of them are complete and 11 are on site at different stages, from those that are about to get finished to those that are almost done. So we've done quite a bit. We have nearly 3,000 investors, nearly 3,000 residents, so nearly 1,000 people working on our sites in different areas. So it's really growing into a big movement. And we learn all that, the movement building, the leadership style. For us, we use, I think Jesus himself was the master. You pick the 12, you mentor them thoroughly. You have your 72. I'm sure by the time he left a few hundred believers who really understood this thing. And within the first day of Peter, after Pentecost, 3,000 were coming to the faith. We believe in a movement building. You started in Jerusalem, Judea, to the ends of the earth. So we are building this movement, and it is growing a lot. So I could talk for a long time, but Mchungaji, let me stop there. Maybe I just gave a quick 15-year journey from 2004. Okay, it was actually longer. 1998 to 2004 was false starts. The seed was being planted, on the road and in the whatever. 2004, I think the seed fell now on fertile ground. When he says that he can produce 130-fold, 60-fold, 100-fold, it is true. It is actually true, but it doesn't happen in a day. So for us, it was a 15-year journey, and now we're on the journey of a lifetime of living a life of purpose, and that is what we do currently. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Leonard, for sharing your story so far. And so this is where the questions begin to flow in. Every person who has a question, go ahead and write it down, and we'll be able to get those questions answered, and especially focusing on what Leonard was talking about. Now, Leonard, I have some questions and a few others that I've already seen. And the first question is, you said that the goal for you and your wife was to create a third income, passive income that was equal to or greater than your salaries combined. Now the question is, one, why did you do that? Why did you create a passive income? Is it important? And if you could describe the passive income, what you mean by passive income, and also is it important for the rest of us to create passive income?
Okay. Our story, the story of our growing up, I think played a really key part. Now, my grandfather did not have much of an education, but he sort of worked and built things over a long period of time. And by the time he was retiring in the late 70s, he had built sufficient passive income. Now, passive income is income that you get without working. Passive income is, but like everything passive, you cannot get it while you're being passive. You have to put in you have to be a very active investor for you to be able to get passive income. Yeah. So by the late 70s, when he retired, he had rent. He had sufficient rent, and he could retire and take care of his cows and do a few other things. My father, who was a very senior civil servant, was considered wealthy. But when he was fired from his job, his income ended. And his life came from grace to grass. Is that the thing? From glory to the opposite of rags to riches. So he went from the top to the bottom. And we could see these two men. I mean, the two of the most influential men in my life. And I could see them. One of them was never rich, but his lifestyle never changed. Actually, it went even better as he grew older. And he never depended on anyone. My father, on the other hand, that time was going through hell. And I tell you, he had to wait for 15 years in that darkness for me to finish school, look for the money to pay his loans. Now, that is something we didn't want to go. That's why I think at the beginning I said, it's not about money, it's about dignity. Yeah, what happens when you're 65? Yeah, that is the thing. It's difficult to see when you're young. If you're in your 20s, you think that's too far. But we started when you're in your 20s. My wife was actually 24, and now 65 for us is not far from today. Yeah, so why for us we could see it. Yeah, and as I grew older, I saw most of my uncles and aunties who had lived really well struggle a lot, and I'm sure most of the people here have seen that. Yeah.
Okay. And so you were coming from the place where you did not want, to work. And then when work ends, you're gone. And a lot of people do find themselves in that place. And so thank you for that. And so that's what drove you to Kitengela and Daystar University area to look for land. One of the things that you brought up is you were earning about 15,000 from the University of Nairobi when you went looking for land. What would you say to somebody who is here and maybe they have a salary of 50,000 currently, and they think that the things that you're talking about are not doable? What would you say to such a person?
The mind is a powerful thing. The mind is a powerful thing. Henry Ford says, whether you think you can or you think you can, either way you're right. I think it's that powerful. What happens is when you set your mind on something that is really, really big, the rest of your life is forced to change, because you have to be accountable to yourself every day. So what happens is our salaries did not remain, my salary did not remain at 15,000 shillings because I had a goal. Yes, to create an income that was equal or more than either of our incomes, but also to be able to educate my children in universities abroad. Yeah, the first one went to SIU, so we didn't have to use that. But if he had gone to Harvard, we would have been able to pay. Why? We made that decision when the girl was born. You see, don't look at your 50,000 shillings today. Look at what your mind wants and what it can do in 15 years or 20 years. You see, so time is the thing that we usually don't factor in. When we're looking at our circumstances, I'm looking at myself, I am here today earning this much. This guy, just because alibahatika amekuwa na pesa, anakuja anatuambia maneno, he does not understand my situation. Okay, we're in that place, we're earning that little, we had 2 children, we had to sort out our parents and our siblings, but the mind was in the right place. The mind was in the right place. So my advice to anybody who is here, one, educate yourself. Don't spend too much time on Facebook, kupata umbea and usabasi and the stories that don't make sense. Reduce the amount of information, reduce the topics you learn on. Yeah, if you want financial topics, just reduce that. And not the things that tell you, oh, visualize it, meditate, and then it will come. No. That's not, when I say have big dreams, that's not what I mean. I mean, have a dream and then get down to work. The Proverbs is beautiful because it gives you practical examples. It gives you the ants and all these things that actually show you that you need to work. You need to put things aside for a rainy day, for tomorrow. There are people who say the boy is the father of the man. And I think the Kikuyus have a saying, inasema uzee inakula ujana. So what you do in your youth determines what happens to you when you're older. Yeah. Don't separate yourself from 65 years. Don't separate yourself from that age.
Okay.
Embody 65 and work towards the person you want to become at 65.
Okay. Wow, that's quite something. There are quite a number of questions in the chat section. I'll ask them in just a moment. But you've talked about the investor's mindset. What are some of the pointers that you'd point to us? Because sometimes as an entrepreneur, I might be an entrepreneur, I'm running my business and I assume, well, I'm doing well, I'm not employed, I'm running my own business, but yet this person is earning direct income, not passive income. because I think that's what I want you to drive to us, because a lot of us earn direct income, but we keep assuming that we are okay because we have a good direct income. And so what is this investor mindset that helps me develop and grow passive income? What are some of the pointers?
Okay. It says that there are three types of people in this world. There are consumers, and that is what most people are. That is what a lot of the news and advertising and everything you see is tell you, I'm a consumer. I get money, I spend money, I am happy. You know, that for me is a cancer that has, and even in the church, forgive me, Mchungaji, we call it baraka. You know, now it sort of fuels it with this prosperity gospel. Again, forgive me. It really fuels consumerism in our system. So these are the consumers. And then the investors. So the consumer's mindset is, I want it and I want it now. And I will beg, steal, overwork, stress. I'll do anything to get it and get it now. This is the world of instant coffee, instant messaging, instant happiness, instant everything, right? So that is the consumer's mindset, which is dangerous because you look like you're successful. You look like you have it made up. You look the part. Then there's the investor. The investor solves the problems of other people. The Jews are the most successful people in the world right now. They are barely 15 million. I think they control 25% or more of all the big things. Or anything that is big is controlled by the Jews. Why? They have rules. There's a wonderful book called Business Secrets from the Bible by some rabbi called Daniel Lapin. And says they have rules. And rule number one is you exist to solve the problems of God's other children. So the investor is not about you. It's really not about you. You have to get yourself out and ask, what do other people need? If you're in that place, then it's a good place. However, again, the investor needs to understand that the income, what you get from your labor, from directly as your labor, that is active income, that is direct income. That can go the day you get fired, or you can't choose to stop working because your income is directly dependent on what you do. It's not even being an entrepreneur, because people forget, people confuse self-employment with other, you know. The employed person works 8 to 5, gets paid at the end of the month. Not too bad. The self-employed person works from 5 to 8, 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. and pays others at the end of the month. So that is difficult. That is really, really difficult. Yeah. So self-employment and employment are really the same. The thing to do is think of the I don't know how to call it, the hustler culture, the DIY, the self-doing. It sounds good. It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. That's why I think of all the companies that are formed, I think only 5-10%, only 5% I think make it beyond 5 years. Why? Because people from these companies come with that mindset. The big mindset is the mindset of the banker. The banker is the person who runs the mindsets of others. Here we are meeting on some program written by I don't know who, and we actually feeling like we're actually meeting. You understand? This guy just created the system, and I don't know, Facebook has I don't know how many billions of users. Can you imagine how big a number that is? Why? This person just thinks differently, and then they have taken our mindset and set it up in the right way. So before you get to banker, you need to pass through investor. And investor is get yourself out of the way. That's number one. Think about the problems of other people. Number two, link your direct involvement in production to your income. Let the solution that you have given be the one that gives you an income. You put your money in Kenya Commercial Bank, let them do the work and give you dividends. You know, that's an example. Put your money in an apartment, let the tenants give you returns. So even if the day you choose to or are unable to work, the day you choose to stop or you're unable to work, that amount of money keeps coming. So I'm not asking people to quit employment and start hustling. No, I'm asking people to stop slaving. And again, sorry, the answer is a bit too long. Money should always be below your emotions. The consumers put money above their emotions. They get happy when they get money. They get sad when they don't have money. They're always dreaming about what money can buy. Why aren't you spending money on yourself? Why is that important? But to be a real investor, to be financially independent, you have to bring your character and make money below you, because money works 24/7. It's a wonderful slave. Use money to make money. It's a wonderful slave. It works 24/7, but it's a terrible master, because it will drive you 24/7.
Wow, thank you. I'm still processing those levels, you know, and asking myself, am I a slave? Am I an investor, or am I a banker? A great mindset right there. Some questions, I'd like to just read some questions that have been written, and then I will see if I can sneak in some of my questions in there. There's a question from, Anna. Anna asked the question. Let me just read it the way she wrote it, so that I can be able to get it. Before the investors came in, did you take loans for the project, or did you do them on a cash basis? Now, before you answer that question, I'd like to combine that question with a question that was asked by I'm realizing when people comment on other people's questions, then they disappear, they go down. There was a question asked by Rachel and Patrick. They said, you mentioned about living on one salary while building passive income. What would you say was a discipline in the journey? Were you ever tempted or influenced by societal pressures to fit in and or conform and live a certain lifestyle? How did you overcome that? I think combining the two questions is, here are two people or two families, so to say, who want to pick the lessons that you're sharing and move to investor or even to banker mentality. But so the question is, how did you do it? And then expound a little bit on what one of your processes, because one of your processes was you cut down your expenditure, you lived on one salary and invested the other.
Okay. Maybe let me start with the loans bit, and then I come to how did we do it. Right now, as a business, we do not take loans. We have never taken loans from the day we started Savo until today. You read rightly from Solomon. I mean, if the richest man in history says something about money, please listen to him. So if Solomon says the borrower is slave to the lender, but he knows something about it. True. Yeah, he knows something about it. So as Savo, we don't borrow. Did we ever borrow? Yes, we did at the beginning. So at the very beginning, we borrowed from our circles. Yeah, so we saved for about 20, I think for about 20 months in the circle, and then I borrowed, and then I think I continued my savings, and then within another 20 months, my circle contribution was equal to the amount of money I had remaining to pay the circle. Nikaenda nikawambia waandike, tukamalizana. That was my end with the circle. Later on in 2012, from the time we had begun, because we started saving in 2006, beginning we began to build. By September, we had finished our first ones. So after running the business for 6 years, we realized we had an opportunity to scale it up. And we had to make some bold moves. Remember, my father had a loan that was really crippling him. So we made a 2-year deliberate move for my wife to move from her regular job to go and work with a bank, so that we could now borrow at 4 or 5% down from the 17-18% market rate. So it was a really thought out process. We're very scared about it. So we borrowed to pay off my father's debts and to scale the business. Now, the beauty, the beauty is, my wife was young. I think by that time, 2012, she must have been, well, I can't remember how old she was. She was young. She could borrow for, I think, 27 years. So she could borrow quite a lot of money and pay reasonable rates, right? By 2016, 2017, when she got fired from her job, we realized we had not touched the principal. We were busy rejoicing, kumbe, we were paying only the interest because, you know, she had 30 years to 27 years to pay. So you're paying, feeling nice, but the principal is barely getting touched because most of the payments were going to, and we realized, oops, even this borrowing at very low interest rates has its own problems. And the people who say they are good, there's good debt, there's bad debt, debt is not bad, it's about how you work with it. Borrowed today, I will not know what I'm doing. And that would be a risky affair. So she got fired from that job. And all of us do get fired. By then she's very good at her work, but she got fired all the same. And the interest moved from 5% to 18%. But the beauty is what that dad did is we stopped everything. There's a place Solomon says, when you've played something to a stranger, do everything you can to tear yourself down from that trap.
Yeah.
So we did everything possible, and within 2 years we had cleared off that loan. Had we had the comfort of that job, that loan would have been on our necks for another 5 to 10 years. Yeah. So I personally don't recommend borrowing. But again, different people see different things. How did we do it? Again, the trick is to make sure that you spend less than you earn. That is, I can philosophize this all I can, but always spend less than you earn. So at the beginning of this life, I call it optional poverty. That's the life I like most. It's called optional poverty, where I live on kidogo by choice. At the beginning, it's a sacrifice. It's a big sacrifice. And you're seeing your friends going to Naivasha, and they're buying cars, and they're moving to better homes, and you are stuck. It's a big sacrifice. After a while, it becomes enjoyable because you realize it's a game. See, life is a game. Yeah, life is how you play it. And you're saying these guys, they are now being caught up by their spending habits. They're not making moves. See, we are looking broke, lakini tuko na hostels. Tuko na hivi. Our kids are now going to the most expensive schools. Why? We have passive income. So it becomes something enjoyable. Then after a while, you find yourself, this is who I am. I can't live any other way. I don't know. I mean, for the last, from 2004 until now, that's almost 20 years, I've lived a certain way. I don't know how to live any other way. So if I have any money in my pocket, I will give it away. I don't know how to spend. I don't know how to go to a shop. Yeah. So again, it depends on how the things you practice become part of your mindset. And optional poverty, by the way, is a beautiful thing. Poverty that is forced on you, that's a bad thing. But living lean because you choose to, is extremely enjoyable. Yeah.
Mm. All right, thank you for that, Leonard. The things you're saying, I think somebody needs to curate them and write them down because they're very powerful. Let me bring. Cyrus asked a question. He said, "You say dreams take time. True. What are the small and short-term steps you take to gradually grow? Unfortunately or not, some of us come to wisdom and money in our 30s, late 30s. What do we do? And so that's a question he's asking, what are the small steps that you take to gradually grow now that dreams take time? Because I think what he's alluding to is, maybe he finds himself at the age of 30, he wants to begin living like Leonard. He wants to have the things Leonard has. And so the temptation becomes, get into pyramid schemes and all that. Anything that tells him he can make money. And so he's asking, what are the steps that I need to take so that I don't do that? I don't risk it all.
Okay. I think the most important, and forgive me, my answers will not always be as expected, because I think life is usually interesting.
That's okay.
The big enemy is yourself. The big enemy between where you are today and where you ought to be is you. You, your passions, your ego, your background, all that is in your mind and what you desire. That's the big enemy. So the everyday wins is character development. I know that statement is used in the negative, but I actually mean character development. If you can stop yourself from buying impulsively, and sometimes it's not about willpower. Willpower is like driving. Okay, nowadays there are no manual cars, but I'm sure you remember gear 1, gear 2, gear 3, gear 4. Gear 1 is good to get you out of the mud or to start the car. But you can't drive from Mombasa to Nairobi on gear 1, gear 2. You need to be on overdrive, gear 5 Uko. That's when the thing moves. So willpower is like gear 1, gear 2. It's important, but it is very, very short-lived. It's too difficult. The human being or the animal kingdom, things operate on impulse. But impulse is also a very dangerous thing, because the heart is deceptively wicked. Yeah, you need to create this thing called habit. So move your energy from willpower, because willpower, you have to engage it every time you get a difficult situation. You have to engage it. Put your energy into developing habits. Then habits become like automatic responses. Daniel had to pray facing Jerusalem, I don't know if it was 3 times a day. It's just what he did. It didn't matter. It didn't matter what came his way. This is just the man he was. Why? I'm sure over time he had inculcated himself the habits of doing this thing every single day. Say, the first thing is personal. You focus on yourself and you begin to see the wins. And once you begin a life of financial independence, you start taking care of your health. Somehow your health becomes important, because then you begin to think, what am I dressing? What am I eating? Am I exercising? You're seeing it's a compounded thing. It's a compounded thing. And the same principles for finance, if you really think about it, are the same spiritual principles, because if you need to be disciplined, they're the same principles for life. So you stop also segmenting your life. This is my work life, my spiritual life, my relationship life. No, the journey of financial independence begins to see life as one. So those are the small wins. You start there. And then if you're doing something, if I want to save up, am I seeing my bank balance building? Again, I don't believe in saving as a long-term measure, because if you can, it's easy. You can get your money from the phone. I don't even need to go to the bank anymore. I can access my money at midnight. Hey, Buana, the temptations will be too high. So I believe in saving to start investing. So get into investments early and start small, because you will fail. Again, guys, I guarantee you will fail. So fail at the beginning when things are still small. When a child is young, God in his wisdom created them small. They fall a lot, but the amount of distance they travel from the head to the ground is very small. But as you grow, the fall becomes bigger. So by the time you're now investing millions, you have some experience. So start with the 10,000 here, 20,000 there, and see the thing that you're passionate about. That's important, so that you don't invest in 15 different things. No, pick 1 or 2 that you think you can devote time to learning, because you cannot delegate learning. Ladies and gentlemen, you cannot delegate learning. That is something you must do. And sometimes you have to pay the school fees, and the school fees will be paid by losing. but get something that you really like, that when you fall, you've learned a lesson, then tomorrow you're able to move at it. People ask me, hey, so which have you diversified? All my income comes from rent, 100%. It is the only thing I know. Okay, it is the only thing, and by knowing, I don't mean know about. It is the one thing I know how to make money from and how I can lose money. If you have understood the two, yeah, you to understand life, you really must understand death. I think hizo mbili lazima zikuwe pamoja. Yeah.
All right, I'm just about to let you go, but one last lesson, and maybe I'll also invite you as you answer this, one last question, and then as you answer it, also share what are your last, closing remarks. Thank you so much for being here, Leonard. Somebody asked a question. What did you learn in the investment journey, and which were your best investments? I think you've already answered that by saying you focused on just one thing. And so the question they add on top of that is, what would you tell somebody who is getting married, right at the beginning, that would be helpful to them? And I think that also goes with what happens when there are not two incomes, it's just one income. And then there's somebody who asked a question. I think they wanted to know, how did you actually clear that huge loan in 2 years? And so once you answer those, you will be done, and but also give us your remarks.
Okay. I hope I remember all of them. How did we clear the loan, the big loan in 2 years? Yeah. My architectural practice by then was quite successful. My wife got another job that was good. Again, when you start the journey of financial independence, because the dream is so big, it is ridiculous, you learn to work very hard. So your income, your active income actually shoots. By then we're earning quite a lot. So we just worked very hard, and all the income we got went into that loan. So that is one. The other one was what? I know you asked, there's a compounded questions there.
Yes, I asked a number of compounded questions. What would you tell people who are getting married, and also, in regard to being able to work, two incomes, be able to work together? But there was also the question of what are some of the steps that you took, investments that you took along the way?
If you're getting married, I'll give you an example, a story. My mother came to visit, and my wife and I were just in the room talking, and she was really amazed. Hey, mwanangu, mnapendana sana mke wako, mnaongea sana. Ndio mama, si maongezi ya mapenzi. We have financial goals that are this high and income that is this low, and somehow we think by talking and writing we will bridge that gap.
Okay, looks like Leonard disappeared. I believe he'll be back in just a moment, and then we'll be able to have him answer the question. Most probably what happened, this happens a lot of times and we don't realize it, where if you're using data to connect and somebody calls you, it becomes so easy to be able to, to be kicked out. So I trust that he'll be back in just a moment. I believe he's on his way back because I see him. And after Leonard is done, we are going to be jumping in and listening to another speaker, an amazing person who is going to be sharing with us in just a moment. But let me get a hold of Leonard so that he can be able to conclude. Something that I ask you to do, if you could go ahead and invite all your friends. Bring in all your friends, wherever they are, just tell them, hey, you need to be here. You need to be part of this because this will bless them. This will change their lives. This will transform them. And so, Leonard, karibu sana. Sorry, you got kicked out. I think you can be able to unmute and you can be able to put on your video.
My apologies for that. Yeah. So my mother, so I just told my mother that we are trying to talk about money and how to bridge. And she told me something that I didn't believe in then, but as time has gone by, 20 years later, I think it was profound. She said, if you sort out money in your marriage, my son, you'll have sorted out 80% of your marriage. But I thought the percentage was too high. I knew it was important, but I thought, that is a very high percentage. But over time, I've learned that I think she was right. Mchungaji, I think you can bear witness that there is more divorce and marital strife caused by money issues, not having a lot of it or having little, no, having common understanding of what it is. If you're married, let your money be married. So for those who are planning to get married, or those who are newly married, or those who have been married, get your money conversations right. Because whatever you do in your 40s, and I'm now about to get into my 50s, and all my friends who are divorced, and it is very many within and outside the church, the number one issue is money. Yeah, so get your money right. And in conclusion, financial independence for me has worked as a life guide to self-discipline. I'm not a disciplined person by nature, but because I have the gift of having a dream and wanting to achieve that dream, I have been forced to develop self-discipline. So get something big. Financial independence is a big deal because it will take you the rest of your life. And once you get financial independence, you almost automatically get into a life of purpose. You begin to now look outside, because right now, to be honest, I have sufficient money to retire and go to shags and enjoy myself. And I can live whatever lifestyle anyone could possibly dream. I can do that. But somehow I work harder now than I did before. Why? It's not about me. It's of course, there's meeting the needs of God's other children. Yes. There's the ego that maybe I would like to be remembered by more than my children. There's the need to, in the prayer, the Lord's Prayer, which I think is a profound writing as I come to a close. I looked at it and said, God, where can I participate in this? And everything was so huge. And then I saw a place there that I thought I could sneak myself in. Give us this day our daily bread. I said, God, can your children thank you for daily bread in decisions they made through my participation? So for me, that's I think it is Matthew 6:11. Give us this day our daily bread. So I have sorted out my life discipline-wise. I think my journey to financial independence has made my marriage strong. I think my kids have grown up with very privileged lifestyles, gone to top-notch schools, but you meet them, you will never know that they have a rich father. Why? We have been able to inculcate in them the disciplines of wealth, which is responsibility. It's not privilege, it's responsibility. My marriage has grown strong. I am physically fit because now, but suddenly I'm rich. I don't want to die tomorrow. Or even if I live long, I don't want to live in the hospital. So I have to watch what I eat and drink and do all those things. And now I'm able to impact God's children in large numbers. Yeah, I think for me, those are the lessons. And Mchungaji, thank you. And my apologies for talking too much.
It's okay. I've just been reminded by somebody in the private chat. They've just sent me a message and said, you cannot let Leonard go before he tells us why he does not own a house. Own a home. And yet he's building all these huge buildings, sub apartments and sub this and sub that. What everyone wants to build a home. Leonard does not want to build a home.
Yes.
What informs that? That is my last question.
A house is the biggest liability you'll ever own. That's my belief system. I live in a very decent place. You can see behind me, there's our lawn. There's very nice. My landlord,
I can see.
Yeah, my landlord gets 3%. If I calculate what the house is worth versus the rent I pay him per month is 3%. The houses I build, I give people 9%. Okay, my reason is very simple. I'd rather go to Savo, buy apartments, get 9% return, and come and pay my landlord. If I spend the amount of money my landlord wants for his house, because it's up for sale, I can take the same amount of money, go to Savo, buy a number of apartments that will allow me to own 2.5 houses here. I mean, in terms of rent. So my mother asked me, Mwanangu, see, you'd be so much happier if you, I'm like, Mom, the house is as comfortable, the grass is as green. In fact, I don't even mow the lawn. The guy comes and mows the lawns for me and takes care of my fences. And if there's a problem, I just call him and he repairs my taps. I have delegated my cool lifestyle to him. So I live the lifestyle, he carries the burdens. But I go to the more affordable houses where the return is much higher. Akili, eh?
Yes. I get.
And then I can move any day I want. Yeah.
Really, really good sense, because it also means your children have an inheritance.
Yes.
And so it's not that what you're focused on is the inheritance, the income, not necessarily the lifestyle.
Yes.
Because I think that's what people do. They confuse lifestyle with inheritance. And yet, just like you told us the story of your dad, if you were to pass away, you would leave them with a lifestyle they can no longer be able to keep, and yet there is no funding for it. Thank you so much, Leonard. Your way of thinking, the things that you're focused to do, you're changing lives, you're impacting lives. And let me say, you're an inspiration. Thank you so much for being here. And next time when we invite you, please show up again. And for anyone who'd want to have more information about Savo and what they do, you can go ahead and get in touch with Richard and I believe Jonathan, and they'll be able to give you all that information that is needed. You can actually Google savo.ke, and you'll be able to see the work Savo is doing. If we were in a meeting in a hall, I would have asked all of us to stand and give you a standing ovation. But from me, on behalf of everyone here, thank you so much, Leonard. God bless you richly.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Asante sana. Amen. Amen. As we move into the next session, ladies and gentlemen, let me just ask you to do something here. Go ahead and get a hold of all your friends and tell them you need to join me, because it's getting hot in here. And I just love the things that, Leonard has shared with us. Those things, and I believe it was Wabala did an amazing job, picked and put them all together in 25 points, and there's also Timothy and Frida. They have been posting points. If you go to the chat section, you will see all the notes that are being curated there as they type out. Amazing stuff, and we really do appreciate. Thank you for being here. Let me just throw a challenge to us. Is it possible for us to go ahead and multiply our number right now? We are about 270 people right now on Zoom. Is it possible to multiply these and take it to above 500? How do we do that? You simply go ahead and pick the link and invite everyone you can and tell them you cannot afford to miss this. You need to be here because the next person that is going to come on board. Hi, people. I'd like to just put a post there for a moment. We are still on. The reason for doing that is because now that this is a rerun, I need to be able to engage you so that you don't feel like oh well, we are just here watching and going through this by ourselves. And so let me just post that for a moment. I want to tell you that the next guest on Saturday during the masterclass did an amazing job, and we'll be getting into that in just a moment. Every one of you who has joined in when this already began, allow me to tell you that we have had a great session. It was a great session with Leonard Mcharo. I told somebody actually as this was going on, I was like, you know what? It's like I'm hearing this afresh. This guy has such a different way of thinking. And the person said, yeah, even them, they agree. And, some of the things that Leonard was mentioning, you might look at them and they sound crazy. You may look at them and they sound crazy, but allow me to tell you, no, they are not. If you sit down and begin to do, for example, calculations and things like that. For example, he mentioned about the mortgage. It's one of the things that we talk about in the Working Financial Freedom class, where we show you the practicality of how to literally be able to, instead of, for example, getting a mortgage, how you can actually be able to earn more money by putting the money in a place where you would earn interest and something like that. And so it's been mentioned several times. Leonard mentioned that there's a class that we do, equipping people and enabling people, equipping people in regard to working in financial freedom. Yes, we do a class called Working in Financial Freedom. This is a manual that I'm holding that every person who joins and is part of that class gets. And I would encourage all of you to sign up and be part of that class. Dora, and Keria and Sheila and just each one of the co-hosts that are here are going to post the information on how you can be able to join that class and how you can be able to participate in that class, because actually the next person that I'm bringing on board is a graduate of the Working in Financial Freedom class. They went through it. They were looking for information, and they had gone through, quite a bit of other training, and they came into the class, and it was beneficial and very helpful for them. And so go ahead, take a hold of that, be able to join and be part of that class. It's a great class. It will impact you greatly. You will learn, this mindset right here that Leonard is talking about. Your mindset will never, it will never ever be the same again. And so, ladies and gentlemen, let's continue with our let's continue with this. But something else, invite all your friends. It's about 5:30, and so people are out of work. People have already left work if they're in a matatu somewhere, because this is free. The kind of knowledge, the kind of information that was given in this masterclass, allow me to say, if we had charged for this masterclass, people would have paid, and a lot of money, but this was free. And so you'll be doing your friend, your brother, your sister, whoever it is, your workmate, you'll be doing them a favor by getting them here. So would you go ahead and get them here? Thank you. Let's continue with this. And I would like to ask her to go ahead and unmute her microphone and put on her video. Is Juliet Mazera. Juliet Mazera is a lawyer. And Juliet Mazera, I came into contact with Juliet because she came into a class that I was teaching. The class is called Working in Financial Freedom. And for 10 weeks, because it's a 10-week class, Juliet and I were able to interact in the classes, in the lessons. And, some of the things she would comment, some of the things she would say were a great inspiration and learning for me. But I don't know whether she benefited and learned anything from the class, because it's a class that I would encourage all of us to be able to look out for and say, I want to be part of that class because it changes lives. And so I'm going to invite Juliet to share with us her story and also share her lessons. Maybe a testimony out of the class, Working in Financial Freedom. Juliet would be a good way to start. And then go ahead and share with us, because you're here today to share with us baby steps to financial freedom. And so go ahead and take the floor, Juliet. It's good to have you here, and it's such an honor and a joy.
Thank you, Pastor Munene, but you've been very unfair to me. You did not know I was coming after Leonard. Did not tell me I was coming after Leonard Mchara. I was feeling like, I was like, oh, I want to write notes. Wait, he's talking too fast. I felt like he was brought specifically for me. And I felt like I was alone in the room with him, and he was talking about my life and everything I've done right and everything I did wrong. I wanted to tell him, stop telling my secrets to everybody else. But yes, I did attend the financial freedom class with the ICC team. And yes, I did learn a lot. Most of the things that I have managed to do since 2021 have been as a result of that class. That girl who went and brought almost the entire office and paid for them to come for the class, because I felt like if they were on the same page with me on financial matters, then we would be able to move the office in a certain direction, and we wouldn't have some certain tags and pulls that we kept having, because I was a boss to some of them, and some of the times, most of our conversations would be about money, and they need an advance, and they need a loan. And I was like, these conversations are not helping us. So I thought that maybe they should come for the class, and then they'd get to learn a few things. But I did learn, I think the best thing I've learned in the last 5 years was my money personality in the class. There was a week where we were doing that, and I learned that my money personality was, I was a hoarder. Who knew? I was a hoarder, and I was a hoarder from a poverty mindset and scarcity mentality because of the life experiences that I'd had growing up and even in adulthood. There was a time when I lost my dad when we were 10, and we lost everything and became super, 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 super poor. If you know of the smell of poverty, ask me. I can tell you how poverty smells like. That's how bad things were. And I've also lost money in my adulthood. I think in 2011, I fell from grace and lost money and had to start over again. And then again in 2018, I lost everything and had to start all over again. So I have experience in whatever Leonard was saying, that you will start over many times over, but at least you're not starting from zero. You're starting from experience. So yeah, so that's what I learned from there, from learning that I was a hoarder and not from a good perspective, because I liked collecting my money and just seeing it piling up. It gave me a sense of security and peace. But then I realized I wasn't getting as much out of it if I was just holding it. Yes, I was putting it in nice investment vehicles, which are giving me a good return of like 8% to 10%. But then Pastor Munane challenged me that I needed to like step out of that, of just not just putting my money in a money market or putting my money in whatever investment vehicle it was, but actually putting it in an investment vehicle that multiplied it over and over. Because you'll find that there are certain verses in the Bible that tells us that God is a God of multiplication, not addition. I was just doing addition and doing multiplication in fractions, not whole numbers. So I needed to change that and multiply it. And you've heard Leonard saying that your money will grow 30-fold, 60-fold, and even 100-fold. And that's in the Bible. So I decided, let me step out in faith. And I ended up purchasing a house, not a home. I don't own a home. I purchased a house which now is used to, it's leased out to corporates in Vipingo, and they come and stay in it, and money is got a mind. The investment is actually generated from there. And 2 years later, I have managed to again step out of my comfort zone and set up a salon. I'm hoping it will be a passive income stream that I don't have to actively be involved in. I'm not personally a salonist, but I have people that have been employed that are actually experts in their industry, and they run that for me, and I just manage it from a financial perspective. So I hope in another 2 years' time, I'll be able to set up something else, and my passive income will be generated from there. So again, I'm also a believer like Leonard. I don't believe in owning homes. I'm waiting to be converted into home ownership, but whatever I'll walk you through will just explain why my position is as it is. So allow me to share my screen and let me know if you can see it. Can you see my screen? Dora, are you there? Or Pastor Mnene?
I can't see it yet. Have you shared?
Yes.
Or maybe it's just delayed, it will pick up in a moment.
But unless I am technologically challenged, as I always am with these Zoom things. I'm a Teams girl, so Zoom is new to me.
Okay.
Oh, here we are.
No, I can't see it yet.
It's starting to turn day.
Imefika.
Awesome. So I'll just tell you what I've done since. I'll claim that my path to financial freedom started in 2014, October, when I attended certain classes. And like I said, there were many start, stops, failures, unlearnings, relearnings, de-learning, learning again, that I had to do to get to where I am now. So I stumbled upon a financial guru from the States called Dave Ramsey. And he basically says that you can eat an entire elephant, but you can only eat it if you eat it one bite at a time. So I appreciated that between 2014, when I started my classes, my financial classes in the different forums that I was in and the different books that I had read, like you've been advising me to read widely. I have lots and lots of financial books on money, which I read up on. Some I've not read and they just smell nice. And it's good to have them because I know one day I'll need to review. But yeah, so I had amassed so much information on money, but I was overwhelmed in terms of how to tackle them. I didn't know what to touch first. I was like, should I touch this? Should I pay it first? Should I save first? Should I set up my child's college fund first? It was overwhelming. The information that I had accumulated was overwhelming. But then I stumbled across Dave Ramsey after prayer. I stumbled upon him, and then I learned that I could actually do a step-by-step process, and I would actually get to the end, which is financial freedom. So I'll walk you through what I've done. This is what I adopted from 2015. 2014 is when I was learning. 2015 is when I started adopting them. I'll tell you that the first step was the hardest. So what are actually the baby steps? The baby steps are, as you've seen them there, the first step is to set up your starter emergency fund. And this is not a fully funded emergency fund. It's just a starter emergency fund, something to just hold you. So you save $1,000, roughly translated to us, that's like 100,000 to 135,000, depending on where the dollar is at. Step 2 is you pay off your debt early using the debt snowball. I'll explain that to you, what it is. Step 3 is you build your fully funded emergency fund. Remember, baby step 1, we did 100,000 or 135. Baby step 3 now is you build a fully funded emergency fund, depending on what your lifestyle is actually at the moment. Baby step 4 is you do your retirement investing. Baby step 5 is you do your college savings or your university savings for your children if you don't anticipate them going to, do we still call it JAB, Joint Admissions Board, University of Nairobi, Moi, Kenyatta, those ones. If you don't anticipate them going there and you want them to go to the Strats, USIU, to go to Harvard, Yale, Oxford, those ones, baby step 4 is for us. Baby step 5 rather. Baby step 6, if you believe in home ownership and you want to be a home owner, you tackle that actual dream in baby step 6. Baby step 7 is when you build wealth and you give like indiscriminately, not the kidogo that we've been doing when we are in debt and we are struggling with money ourselves. Baby step 7 is when you're wealthy and you're able to give generously. So let me just go in depth, step by step. Like I said, you eat an elephant one step at a time, one bite at a time. And the reason why it's the baby steps are efficient is like it's written there. Focus goes where energy flows. So if you stick on baby step 1, you tick it off. It's very easy because you're like, I know all I need to do is just raise 100,000 in this number of days or this number of months, and I'll tick it off my list. So you have that. And then you go to the next step and the next step and the next step, and you don't end up getting overwhelmed. And when people come with investment ideas or ideas of, oh, tumepata nini huku, oh, tumepata kuna deal nyingine huku, you don't get distracted because you know, no, wait. I'm in baby step number 2. That one comes in baby step number 7 or number 6. So it has to wait until I'm in baby step number 6. And opportunities will never run out. That one I can tell you for a fact. Opportunities will never run out. I know there was a lot of pressure, like for me in 2015 and 2016 and all those years, to do certain things a certain way. But I was like, no, wait. Every time someone would come and talk to me, I tell them, it's not in my baby steps. You have to wait until number 5 or number 4 when I'm at that point in time. So baby step number 1, and you'll allow me to weave my faith and my religion into my presentations. I do note that there are some people in the group that are not Christians, and I'm assuming this just from their names. So forgive me if I do that, but I believe that most of our religions are kind of the same. You will get that in your holy books most of the time. So the anchor verse for baby step number 1, which is the starter emergency fund, is Songs of Solomon, chapter number 2, verse 15, which says, "Catch for us the foxes, the little foxes that ruin the vineyards that are in bloom." So how much are we supposed to save? Like I said, $1,000, which is equivalent to 100,000 to 135,000, dependent on the dollar. Why do we need to save only 100,000? Why do we need to have a starter emergency fund? So that it can catch the small expenses to prevent you from going to Tala and to Mshwari and to your mom and to your older brother to give you money for something that ought to be your responsibility. Yeah. So that when you go to baby step number 2, it's not distracting you. When you have some small tiny emergency, gas imesha kabla tumejipanga, you go to your emergency fund and take the 2,500 or the 3,000, depending on whatever the price is for gas at in your region, and you buy your gas. Yeah. So how long should it take for you to save up the starter emergency fund? The recommended time is it shouldn't be more than 3 months. So between 1 month and 3 months. And of course, I appreciate that all of us have different earning capabilities and capacities. Yeah. But try as much as possible not to take more than 3 months. And it can be done if you put your mind to it. Anything can be done if you put your mind to it. And then where should you put the starter emergency fund? It shouldn't be in a place that you can easily access, such that you get, enticed. But it shouldn't be at a place that it's so hard for you to withdraw it, such that the emergency overwhelms you and you're not able to withdraw the money in time to sort out the emergency. So a normal bank account should work, but not your normal bank account which you use to pay your bills. It should be like a separate bank account. So if you have an account in KCB where your salary comes, try and have another account in maybe Stanchart or whichever other bank where you put now the 100,000 shillings for your emergencies. And then how should you raise the funds? You can raise the funds in many ways. You can either get another job or get another income stream. You can either sell what you have, or you can reduce your expenses. That way, from your budget, you get an allowance or some wiggle room, and that wiggle room, that extra money that you get from reducing your expenses, you pour it into the emergency fund. And this I did when I was blindly sitting in coffee houses every day after I dropped my child in kindergarten. And I'd be like, oh, I'm such a sacrificing mom, sitting here waiting for my child to finish school, and I'm only drinking kahawa, tungu, as I wait for her to come out. But in me sitting in the coffee house, the coffee would be 160 shillings. It's 5 days a week. Remember, she's going to school. The coffee would be 160 shillings. I'd pay, I was stupid, man. I'd pay 300 shillings, I think, to city council for my parking. And then at some point, I'd be like, oh, I'm hungry. Let me just take one dao and then buy an andazi, which would still cost money. So at some point, when I got slapped during my many financial literacy experiences, I did the math. I was told, just stop making decisions blindly without doing the calculations and doing the cost for each decision you're making. Every decision costs money. So I did the calculations after I was like, mina kuna tu kahawa black hata haina maziwa. So I did the calculations like 160 plus 300 plus times 5 days times 4 weeks in a month. And I was like, oh! Then I did it times 12 months in a year. I was like, oh my God, this is enough money for us to go on holiday, because we were not going on holidays because we didn't have money, because we were so broke. And I'm like, this is enough money for a holiday. So I just need to drive my Tushi back home. And the cost of fuel, like I'm saying, every cost has, every decision has a cost. I did the cost of my fuel, and my fuel in 12 months was not as much as my black coffee, one dao, and, money to city council for my parking. So I realized, okay, let me reduce my expenses. The extra money that I was getting from reducing my expenses in my budget, now I put it into my emergency fund. But I can assure you, the 100,000, for some reason, I don't know why, it was the hardest thing I've ever done, raising 100,000. I had no money and no discipline, no muscle, financial muscle to do that. But it took a longer time than the 3 months that I'm telling you, but it was doable. And surprisingly, my earning ability, you would think, ought to have been able to raise the 100,000 in a month, but I was not able to because I was indisciplined. So again, now what do we do? God uses what we have. I know many people say, oh, but I don't have, every coin has been committed elsewhere, but you do actually have what it takes. So I'll advise you, and because I have limited time to speak, I'd advise you to go read the story of Moses. Every time when God came to Moses and asked him to go to save the Israelites from slavery in Egypt, and Moses was saying, oh, I can't. And God said, what do you have in your hands? And Moses said, I have a rod, the rod that he was using when he was shepherding his flock. And God said, yeah, throw it down, and it turned into a snake. And that's what God used to perform all the miracles in Egypt. And then again, when Jesus was feeding the 5,000 men, the miracle of feeding 5,000 men, again, the disciples come to Jesus. Oh, send the people away. They're hungry. Let them go to another town to go eat. And Jesus says, no, you feed them. And they're like, oh, but we don't have. They're like, no, feed them. And it's like, oh, we only have 2 fish and is it two fish and 5 loaves of bread? And God used that and multiplied that in such a way that it was what was used to feed 5,000 men. And remember, these 5,000 men were not just men, it was men, and then there were women who were not counted in the 5,000, and children. And then the story of the widow and the flour who, she went to the prophet and said, oh, we are about to just bake this little cake and die. And then the prophet says, what do you have? And she's like, oh, I have only a little flour. And from the flour again, God multiplied that. And the story of the widow and the little oil, and her sons were about to be taken into slavery because her husband had died and they owed a lot of money. Again, God used what was in her house. So what am I saying? Look at what you have. Look at your talents. Look at what is in your house that you don't use, but you have and you're holding for whatever reason, because maybe it's, it has some memories, but you're not actually using it. So sell stuff, use your talents that you're not monetizing to make more money, reduce your expenses, and whatever you have left over, you save into the 100,000. And this strategy you'll also use, once you practice it in baby step number 1, you'll appreciate that you'll keep using it every day. So like for now, I actually have trained myself in such a way that my living expenses are capped at 22% of my gross salary. So that's what I live off on. And the 22% is inclusive of my tithe, and is inclusive of my giving and my rent, my nanny, my food, my travels. Everything is in the 22%, and everything else now I invest. And it's all from exercising that muscle, yeah, for living below your means. And I think Leonard called it optional poverty. I think I'm going to print it out and just write it on my door, optional poverty. And then, like I said, budget. So you need to start budgeting. You give every shilling a job. If a shilling does not have a job, if you've not allocated it a job, you'll always wonder where it's gone. Always, always, always. So before your money even checks in, do a budget and dedicate time, like every month. You can say maybe the 3rd week, it depends on you. You can say every time, sit down, do a calculations. The rent is this much, fuel is this much, water bill, electricity bill, money that I'm going to pay school fees for. You have to budget every item. And any money that is left over, that's not money for you to spend and go happy. You must also have a budget for your happy, whatever your happy is. My happy is food. So you have to budget for it. Nothing can be left to chance. Your savings have to be budgeted for. Yeah. And then the anchor verse for this, of course, is Luke 14:28-29, where Jesus said, suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? For if you lay the foundation and are not able to finish it, everyone who sees it will ridicule you, saying, this person began to build and wasn't able to finish. Same as, when you get your salary at the beginning of the month and then it doesn't reach the end and you start borrowing, people still say, oh, na huyu alipewa mshahara na hata haikufikisha mwisho wa mwezi, kwa nako hajajipanga. So that's it. You need to prevent this situation from happening by always budgeting and giving every shilling a job to do, or else you'll always wonder where it went. Now, the other thing to do in baby step number 1 and to practice is you track your expenses. I have an app that I use called the Spending Tracker. And this is when I knew that I was spending a lot of money on coffee, which was black. That was not so tasty. So you keep tracking your expenses, and from tracking your expenses, that's where you'll know where the leaks are. That's where you know where you are going wrong. A friend of mine told me that when she started tracking her expenses, she realized most of her money was going to chewing gum. Can you believe it? Chewing gum. The thing that you pick just absent-mindedly when you're about to check out of the supermarket was costing a lot of money at the end of the day. And then, so the anchor verse here for tracking your expenses is Proverbs 27:23. The Lord tells us, be sure to know the condition of your flock. Give careful attention to your heart. So don't just own stuff. Don't just have an income. Don't just have a spending history without knowing where your money is going. Yeah. So that's the app I use, the Spending Tracker. And then baby step number 2 is pay off your debt. Anchor verse here is Proverbs 22:7, which I believe Leonard had mentioned. The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender. I won't belabor the point more than has already been done, but imagine when you owe someone money and you meet that person and you are drinking a soda. That's what imagine ataitashuka, because you know how he's looking at you. Soda imeisha ladha, kwa imeanza kukua constricted all of a sudden. So that's what it means. You become a slave to the lender. You can't even cough in his presence. You're like he's a servant. So God already tells us you don't want to be a borrower. And I think in another part of the Bible, he actually does promise us that we are going to be the lenders and not the borrowers. So claim those promises and try as much as possible not to be the borrower in any relationship. Proverbs 6:1-5. These ones are for my brothers and sisters who are in circles most of the time and have guaranteed loans for someone else, or you yourself have given maybe your house as security for a loan. The Bible says, and the wise King Solomon actually says, my son, if you have put up security for your neighbor, if you have shaken hands in pledge for a stranger, you have been trapped by what you said, ensnared by the words of your mouth. So do this, my son, to free yourself, since you have fallen into your neighbor's hands. Go to the point of exhaustion. In baby step number 2, hakuna kulala, and give your neighbor no rest. Allow no sleep to your eyes, no slumber to your eyelids. Free yourself like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter, like a bird from the snare of the fowler. So this one, I encourage you to just have this imagery in your head. There's a cheetah or a lion, and you're the gazelle, and the cheetah is coming after you. How fast do you run to free yourself from the hands of the cheetah? That's what the Bible is trying to tell us. Free yourself like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter if you are a borrower and you have given something as security. There's also another verse, I think, which says, you even deserve your bed to be taken from me, but I will not traumatize you with that Bible verse. So when you're doing baby step number 2, there are 2 methods. You can either do the debt snowball or the debt avalanche. I did the debt snowball. So the debt snowball basically just says you list your debts from the smallest to the largest, and then you start attacking. You pay minimum balance for the minimum amount for each debt, including the one that you owe your mother and your brother. You list it there, and the one for Mshwari, please, you list it there, and the one for Tala, all of them, all your commercial and your consumer debts, you put them there, apart from the mortgage. And then now you start paying whatever you are allowed as your minimum amount of payment. So whatever the minimum installment is, you pay from there. So smallest to largest, you attack the smallest first, attack it. When you finish whatever amount you used to pay for the small one, you roll it up to the second smallest, like that, and you keep rolling it up. That's why it's called a snowball. It keeps getting bigger and bigger to the point where you can have a very big installment due and payable for the largest debt. But again, like I said, the exception here is we don't attack the mortgage in baby step number 2. We only pay the minimum amount. If you already have a mortgage or a building loan, we attack it more vigorously in baby step number 6, which I'll walk you through. Baby step number 3 is where you now do your fully funded emergency fund. I know most of you will tell me, 100,000, what is 100,000 nowadays? It's so little, what will it save us? But again, like I said, the small foxes that destroy the vine. We didn't want to be distracted in baby step number 2 when we're doing our debt payments, because if you don't have that small amount for gas or for whatever small emergency has cropped up that you are not ready for, imagine you'll stop paying your debts and you'll resort again to adding another debt, going to Tala or going to Mshwari or whichever app you use to get your loan. That's why baby step number 1 is important. So baby step number 3 is we bump it up. Yeah, we bump it up and make it a fully funded emergency fund. So in this step, our anchor verse is Proverbs 21:20, and it says, the wise store up choice food and olive oil. Basically, you have savings and investments. Yeah, you have savings, but fools gulp theirs down. So a wise person, when they get their income, they will save it up. They of course have some money for their expenses, but there's a section that they will be putting aside for their savings. But a fool, peo, to leo rounding happy, those ones who drink alcohol. That's what Proverbs 21 is supposed to be guiding us about. So what constitutes an emergency? An emergency is anything that you did not plan for. School fees is not an emergency. You knew your children were going to school. It's not an emergency. Christmas is not an emergency. December 25th has been there since time immemorial. I think 2,000 years now there's been Christmas, or I don't know when Christmas was invented, but it's always been there. Which other one? School holidays, they've always been there. That time when you want to go on vacation, imagine it's not an emergency. You must have planned for it. You knew how much it cost, you knew it was coming up, so it's not an emergency. So that those expenses don't entitle you to go deep into your emergency fund when they come up, because you should have planned for it and you should have had a separate saving plan for it, which I'll again walk you through. So how much should you save for your emergencies, for the fully funded emergency fund? Remember the 100,000 that we had in baby step number 1? Now we need to bump it up. So you calculate what, because now we've already been tracking our expenses. We know how much we spend per month. It's not a surprise anymore. We've practiced this, we've known. So you say, so every month, if my living expenses are, let's say 100,000 or 150 for argument's sake and for purposes of example, if my living expenses are 100,000, you need to set aside 3 to 6 months of your living expenses as your fully funded emergency fund. Why 3 to 6 months? Because the argument here is it might take you 3 to 6 months for you to get another job. If you've lost your let's say if you've lost your job. For some of us, getting a job like the one that we have might take longer. So I opted to do a year because I was like, it might not take me 6 months to get another job because of how hard it is, or how rare they are. So I've set aside 1 year of my living expenses as my fully funded emergency funds. How long did it take me? It took me forever. When I was doing the calculations, I was like, oh Lord Jesus, when am I ever going to finish doing my fully funded emergency fund? Like, it was going to take so long, and it was so discouraging because I'd come from a whole because I was paying my debts from 2015 to 2017 December, I think, is when how long it took me to pay my consumer debts. And then I lost my car my car got into an accident in 2018 March. And that was when I was struggling to figure out how I was coming up with my fully funded emergency fund. And the insurance people paid me more than I'd paid for the car for my compensation. And just like that, the amount of the compensation was equal to my fully funded emergency fund requirements. And so I opted not to buy another car. I was like, this is an answered prayer. I now have my baby step 3 ticked. I don't need to struggle anymore. There it is. So I didn't buy a car. I didn't replace my car. I just decided I'm going to be carless so that I can have a fully funded emergency fund and just readjust my life such that I can operate without a car. Then where do you save it? Again, in a place where you can access it when need arises, but not in a place that is so easy to access that it tempts you. Yeah. And then the other sub-steps in baby step number 3, in as much as the major step is the fully funded emergency fund. And this is when you want to buy a house, but you want to buy it on mortgage, or you want to start building for it. So you get a loan for the construction. You save for the deposit at this point in time. And that amount is actually 20% of the value of the house, or the value of the mortgage that you're going to get from the bank. And this is where you also do your sinking funds. Sinking funds are basically for your depreciating assets or for your school fees, because school fees is not a monthly affair. School fees comes every 4 months. I could argue 3 months for school, 1 month for holiday. So every 4 months, school fees comes up. So in a term, school fees is, let's say, 50,000 shillings, for argument's sake. I divide it by 4. So every month I'll be saving whatever the answer is for 50 divided by 4 and putting it in another account where I will not be touching, because that's my sinking fund. And then this is also where you save up for your life insurance premiums. For those of us who have life insurance, and I encourage all of us to take life insurance if you have a child or children or dependents, this is where you now save up for your premiums as well. Again, same thing. If you pay your premiums annually, like I do, I divide them by the number of months that they are. The premium is this much, divide it by 12, have an account where I put my premium savings there. So these are all under baby step number 3. Yeah. We'll discuss more on this in baby step number 6, but just know that you shouldn't buy a house that's too much for you, because it then stops being a blessing and becomes a curse, like you've heard Leonard saying. And the deposit should be 20%. Yeah, like I said, sinking funds are for regular expenses. That's my dream car. Hallelujah, praise Jesus, when I conquer the world. And this is for acquisition of depreciating assets. And like I said, you save it in a place where you can't easily access it. Life insurance, let me just delve into that. But I know we have industry experts who are going to talk to us about this. But let me just give us the Bible verses so that when they come and talk to us, you have already had the fear of the Lord instilled in you. So 1 Timothy 5:8. It does say, anyone who does not provide for their relatives, and especially for their own household, has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. I could argue that when you die, I'll say prematurely, it's advisable to take 10 to 12 times your gross salary. But again, like I said, I'll leave it to the industry experts who are going to come after me to just walk us through that. How long should the term of your insurance be? For as long as you have dependents. So for example, in my case, when I was taking out the insurance, I think my child was 3 years old. From my calculations, I figured she would need me financially until when she was 18. So I took out life insurance for 15 years. But I assumed that while I was still paying this insurance, I was going to be growing my investment in such a way that I'd become self-insured. And self-insured is when you have enough investments in your, in your name that can actually be enough to cater for any emergencies that you have. Yeah. So there's a time when your investments will be growing, yeah, to such a point that whatever money would have been paid by the insurance won't really make a difference. And I hope that's what we are all working towards. And then what type of insurance should you take? There's whole life versus term life insurance. The advice is that we shouldn't mix financial products. So the advice I got is that we should take out term life insurance as opposed to whole life. The reason why you shouldn't take out whole life is because there's an investment component wrapped up into it. But I do appreciate that some of us are not as, what should I say, what's the word? Disciplined in investments. So if you're not disciplined, then of course people would argue that you should take out whole life. But if you are a disciplined person, it would be advisable to just separate your insurance products from your investment products, because the return is always more if you separate those two and you just leave insurance to be what it's supposed to be, which is just to cater for emergencies. And then baby step number 4 is saving for retirement. Here our anchor verse is Proverbs 6:6-8. And it says, go to the ant, you sluggard, consider its ways and be wise. It has no commander, no overseer or ruler, yet it stores its provisions in summer and gathers its food at harvest. So summer for us is our youth, I would argue. Our winter is our old age. So we are being advised here, while we are young, while we still have strength, while we still have our intellect intact, we gather as much as we can in terms of our investments and savings, such that we won't need to work as hard when we are older, and we'll have something stored up for our old days or our old age. So how much should you save for retirement? The argument here is that you should save 15% of your gross salary or income, and not net. So why not more than 15%? Again, here the argument is that you'd be having other responsibilities. You'd be needing to save up for your house for those of us who want to be homeowners. You'd be paying for, or you'd be saving up for your children's college fund for those of us who will have children, and other expenses. So 15% is okay. I know most of us have employers who encourage us to save, I think 5%, have 5% of our gross deducted for pension, and then they match the 5%. Some of us are luckier to have more than that for those who work in very good employers. But 5% is I think the minimum that I've seen. So if you do have that arrangement where your employer matches your contribution, your pension contribution, the argument is that you don't factor in your employer's contribution into the 15%. The 15% should be yours. You, from your salary, 15% should go towards pension. And you can say that you can do 5% in the pension scheme for your employer, and then you can opt to have the 10% in another type of vehicle that's not necessarily tied to your employer. Yeah. And then whatever the employer gives you as a match, yay, thank you, Jesus. It's extra icing on the cake. Consider it as extra icing. So for baby step number 4, remember retirement. I hope you all know that retirement is not an age. So I hope none of us are saying, oh, I'll retire at 60, or I'll retire at 65, because that's the age of retirement in whichever organization I'm in. Retirement is a financial number. So you need to calculate what your financial number is. What's your retirement? And this one is called retire. The RIQ is called the retire inspired quotient. What are you aspiring for when you retire? What's your lifestyle going to look like? And what's the cost of that lifestyle? Find that out, and then calculate how much you need to save, work backwards, how much you need to start saving and putting away for your retirement, such that you hit that number at whatever age that you had hoped to achieve. So some of us are hoping that we will be done in 5 years, praise the Lord. So I'm hoping that we'll be done with our calculations in 5 years. And then next, I would want us to do a financial health check. This is just for shock value. And it's something that I came across in the many books that I read, financial books that I read. What ought to be your current net worth? I want you to calculate, for shock purposes, calculate your gross annual income times your current age, then divide by 10. And that's arguably what you ought to be worth right now. Those of us who are 24 and are just starting out, lucky you. Those of us who are 35 and were doing this calculation for the first time, we were fainting and having heart palpitations and near heart attacks. But it's for shock value, which means it tells you, it wakes you up. It tells you, oh, I ought to be here by now, but I'm not there. I'm here, oh Lord Jesus. So how much faster do I need to work? How much harder do I need to work to get to here? Yeah, and remember, it's a moving number. And again, for shock value. Baby step number 5 is where we save for our children's university fees, for those of us who have children. And this is university that is not job related, and there is no help and there's no scholarship, because we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if help is always going to be there, or they'll have run out of money. We don't know if she's going to be, or he's going to be intelligent enough to get a scholarship, or have such wonderful talents to get maybe a basketball scholarship. I don't know, football. We don't know. So we're working with the worst case scenario. We have no other money coming from anywhere else. Yeah. If it comes, yay, we have extra funds for, setting them up for life for something else. But if it doesn't, we are prepared. Yeah. So the first thing we do when we're doing the calculations for our children's college fund or university fund, and again, this is for those of us who are not going to University of Nairobi, because University of Nairobi, I know we can do. Unaweza jikaza ulipe University of Nairobi regular class. Sindio? So step number 1, you confirm the age of your child and how many years it will take him or her to start university. At the time when I started with my child, she was 3 years old. So I had 15 years because I was assuming she'd be going to uni when she was 18. So I had 15 years to get my act together. Then identify the university which to take him or her to. Me, I had great dreams. We were going to Cambridge and Oxford and Harvard, and not University of Nairobi, where I was traumatized. So yeah, so I went and figured out, okay, what's the most expensive course that she can take? Of course, I can't dictate to her how she's going to study. So what I did was I was just guessing what's the most expensive course she's going to study, and this is just me. In the most expensive city in the world, in the most expensive university. So I found that there are websites that give you this information. So I found that I did the calculations. I was fainting when I found out the cost of education at that particular university. I multiplied it by the number of years she was going to be there. It was a science course, so it was around 5 to 6 years. I factored in inflation. It's argued that education is inflated at a rate of 7 to 8% per annum. So I factored that into my calculation. So of course, if the course was going to cost me 5 million shillings a year in 2015, which I think was when I was doing the calculations, it won't cost the same in 15 years time. So I needed to factor in inflation. Yeah. So once you've done that, you work backwards and determine the lump sum amount that you need to put aside today, that you need to invest to have grown to the amount that is required in 15 years time. I know most of us go to our insurance providers, and which I had done. I'm now confessing my sins. I had done with my husband at that time, and we had said, we have a loose 7,000 every month, which we can spare. So we used to contribute 7,000 a month to our education fund, and we felt so chosen. We were feeling we were the greatest parents on this planet. We have set her up for her college, only to come and do the calculations and realize probably even that 7,000 by the time the 15 years were going to be over was enough for like pocket money for I don't know how many months. It was so bad. So you need to have actual figures. Stop making decisions based on emotions. Do calculations, the right calculations, have the right figures, and then you will be okay when the time comes. Yeah. So work backwards, determine the lump sum amounts that you need today, that if you invest it in whichever investment vehicle that you have, maybe it's giving you 10% or 8% or 9%, whatever, it will equal the amount that you'll need in that time when she's going to university. And remember, it's not 1 year. You have to calculate it based on the number of years that course is going to take. And like I said, we're not forcing her to go do med, but we would like her to go do med. But if she wants to go do something else, it's fine. But if it is med that she ends up doing, we'll have the money at that time. Now, when I did my calculations, of course I fainted because I didn't have the lump sum amount. It was a ridiculous sum. I didn't have it at that time. So I was like, okay, so I don't have the lump sum amount. What can I do now that will still get me to the same result? So there's a way you can calculate it. And I was in another financial class which gave us some tables that we use to calculate that figure. But I'm sure if you go online, you can actually key in the question and it will give you some apps that can help you calculate. So if you can't afford the lump sum, identify the monthly amount that you can put aside from now till the time when that child is going to university, and the amount of money will have grown to the amount that is required for that time. So again, don't do your education policies based on emotions. Do it on an actual number that you've actually calculated based on where you'd want your child to go. So that when the time comes and they have to go there, you're not flustered and you're not holding harambes and you're not now being harassed with scholarships and harassing the child to, do things that they don't want to do. Baby step number 6 is where we pay off our home early for those of us who want to be homeowners. Our anchor verse is Proverbs 24:27, which I believe Leonard had mentioned in his presentation. And that's prepare your outside work, make it fit for yourself in the field, and afterward, build your house. This is why the home is number 6. After you've done all these wonderful things, you now are set for number 6. But I should mention that baby step number 4, 5, and 6 are actually done simultaneously. It's just that when we get to baby step number 6 and you've sorted out number 5 and you've sorted out number 4, you can attack it more vigorously. Yeah. So how much house should you have, or should you buy, or should you build? And this is all dependent on the monthly installment for those of us who are going to be taking mortgages. Yeah. So it's advised that you shouldn't have a monthly installment of more than 25% of your take-home pay. Your take-home pay is after KRA is done with you, and they've taken their 30% or whatever percentage it is that they deduct from your income. Yeah. So we take 25% of the 75% of the 70% that is left over, and then you now can work backwards and see how much of a house you would need depending on what your mortgage terms are. So for baby step number 6, we're advised that you shouldn't take a mortgage. But then again, I repeat what I had said earlier about the borrower is left to the lender. But if you must, these are at least try and get your arrangement with your bank on these terms. Make sure it's for a term that's not more than 15 years. Because like Leonard said, the longer you have to pay the house, the less chances there are that you've actually touched the principal. And the principal is where they'll get you. They'll make you pay small amounts. You'll be there happy, but you're just paying interest. You're not paying the principal. And then you come and check and ask them, oh, how much do I have left over? And you're like, but I've been paying all these years. Yeah. So make sure that you try and get a shorter term as possible for those of us who are going to go down this route. But so not more than 15 years. Anything less than 15 years is okay. And then make sure you get a fixed rate of interest. Anything that is floating rate or variated, is it called varied rate? Is that the right English word? If the interest varies, chances are you don't have control over it. You don't know what's going to happen to the industry in the next 10 years. You don't know whether interest rates are going to go up. You don't know whether the cap is going to be lifted. You don't know. We don't know. So try as much as possible to negotiate with your bank a very good interest rate. And you can have very many ways of negotiating it. If you have other assets that you can have and tell them, I'll give you this additional asset as security, but you need to lower my interest rate from 13% to 7%. Because there's a time when I tried to do that when I was trying to buy the other house that I told you about, but then I ended up just buying it cash because the bank was frustrating my life. And then I realized, oh, wait, I'm the one who preaches the borrower is slave to the lender. And then I decided not to take the mortgage. But yeah, try and negotiate your interest rate. And they always, don't assume that the interest rate is what they have said it is. You can negotiate it downwards, yeah? So 15 years, fixed rates, try and drive the interest rate down as much as you can. Baby step number 7, yay, now we have, our emergency fund is fully funded. Anytime we have an emergency, we have our money set aside. Our retirement, we've been contributing 15%, including whatever our employer will be giving us for those of us who are employed. Our child is set, or our children are set. The college fund has been sorted. They're going to Harvard, they're going to Strathmore, they're going to SIU, whatever they're going, we have that sorted. Our house, our dwelling house, we have sorted that out. We don't pay rent. Yeah. Now, what are we going to do with our money? We have extra money. We don't have expenses. What are expenses to steamer, maji, fuel, So we have extra money. So this is where we do baby step number 7, which is invest and give. Yeah. And when you invest, you're buying a day that you don't have to work. And this is, you don't have to. If you want to work, of course you can work, but you don't have to. Nothing is forcing you. No one is holding you a gun to your head. You won't be hungry if you don't work. It's not like that. Yeah. So here our anchor verse is Ecclesiastes. There are 2 anchor verses. Ecclesiastes 11:6, where it says, sow your seed in the morning, and at evening let your hands not be idle, for you do not know which will succeed, whether this or that, or whether both will do well. I could argue that this verse could be applied from baby step number 1, such that if for those of us, for example, those of us who are employed, even the unemployed, you can have 1 gig that you do during daytime or during this number of hours, and then make sure you have another gig that you do at another set of hours. So you can be going to your day job during the day from 8 to 5. After 5, a day has 24 hours. So I don't know how many hours I have left, but so you have enough hours. In fact, you can actually split them. 8 hours day job, 8 hours sleeping, 8 hours side hustle and you make money. The Bible actually encourages us to have 2 income streams. And then Ecclesiastes 11:1-2, it says, ship your grain across the sea. After many days, you may receive a return. Invest in 7 ventures, yes, in 8. You do not know what disaster may come upon the land. I did a premarital financial class with Pastor Mulandi. I think he was mentioned by Leonard as well. And there was a time he asked us, when the war in Rwanda broke out, the civil war in Rwanda broke out, the genocide, the people who managed to run away from Rwanda and settled in different countries, he asked us, who do you think had the best chances of starting over or making it wherever they went? Was it the people who had invested in land? And we're like, no, they left the land behind. Okay. Is it the people who invested in homes? They're like, no, they left the homes behind. Is it people who had businesses there? We're like, actually, no, no and yes. I mean, they left their businesses behind, but they still had the intellect and the knowledge of setting up the business. So chances are they could set up the business in another place, right? And then, yeah, some other said actually even the professionals, it was easier for them to set up in the new country. They just need to get maybe accredited wherever they went to and they could start off. So that was the argument he said. You don't know what's going to happen to your country. You don't know which disaster may come upon your land. So because you don't know, you need to diversify your investments. And I am with Leonard. Me, I don't invest in 7 because I don't have knowledge in 7, but I've started teaching myself. So I teach myself on 1. I learn. When I've learned, we do that one. And then I go to another one. I learn. Once I've learned, I invest in that one, like that. So ship your grains across the sea, and across the sea even encourage us to not only invest in Kenya. You can invest in another country. Find investments that are credible, that are not only in Kenya. They could be in Uganda, they could be in the States, they could be in Europe, wherever. Get yourself sorted, because you don't know whether it's Kenya that's going to have a civil war. You don't know whether the economy here will tank and the one in the US will be doing well. You don't know whether the economy in the States will be tanking and it's us who are doing well. So we don't know. Because of that, you diversify, right? And then the other thing I would encourage us is, which I know all of us have read the story of Joseph, but I'd invite us to go read the story of Joseph with a different lens. Read it from a financial perspective. So remember when he interpreted the Pharaoh's dream and said, in 7 years, there'll be years of plenty, and then in 7 years, there'll be years of lack. Yeah. What did he do when there was years of plenty? He said he had actually encouraged or advised the Egyptians, you put aside 20%. In fact, it was a fifth of all your harvest you put aside, and then we will use it during the time of lack. And that's what they did. And when the other people who had not done what the Egyptians had done, and they would come and buy food or something, they would like sell what they had money. They'd come and give Joseph money and say, oh, we are starving, give us food. And they had money. And then their money ran out. And they're like, oh, we are starving, here, take my cow. And their cows ran out. And they're like, oh, we don't have cows, we don't have money, just take our bodies, just let us do what you want. And he's like, okay, fine, now that you don't have money, you don't have cows, you don't have anything else to give me in return for food, I will give you seed, you go plant it, whatever you get from you planting, you give me back 5%, you give me back a fifth of your harvest. Now, is that not like genius? Yeah, he said when they had plenty, when they had nothing, you're still making money. Yeah, so read Genesis 41 with a new lens. Don't just read the Bible as a storybook. Try and ask questions and see how you can adapt whatever story it is in the Bible that you're reading into real life experiences. Yeah. And then the parable of the talents, Matthew 25:14-30. The space was too little, I didn't get a chance to squeeze it here, but I think all of us know when the master gave them talents, and all of them were given talents according to their ability. So don't feel kiwaru when someone has 5 and you have 1. You've been given 1 because that's what you're capable of managing, but prove yourself and show yourself so that you can be given the 5. Yeah. So the 1 buried his, the 2 went and multiplied and got another 2. The one who was given 5 went and multiplied and got another 5. Like I said earlier, God is a God of multiplication. We need to learn to multiply what we have been given. So whatever income you have gotten from your salary, for example, find a way to multiply it. And like I said, let's try not to multiply it using fractions. Let's use whole numbers. Yeah. Then what can I say? Dare to ask for wealth. We read the story of Jabez in 1 Chronicles 4:10, where he cried out to God and he asked, oh God, that you would bless me indeed and enlarge my territory. Let your hand be with me and keep me from harm so that I will be free from pain. So let's not fear or shy away from praying to God to actually bless us in terms of wealth. Yeah. Then baby step number 7 is about investing and giving. Oh, while we're investing, we're also now it's power for real, because now we don't have the shackles that we had before. We don't have debts. Our emergency fund is sorted. Can you imagine how much more generous you will be? Yes, of course, you've been giving the small 1,000 here, the small 500 here, the small 10,000 here and there. But now you are sorted. Your investments are working. You have no debts. Your emergency fund is sorted. Your children are okay. Our board is doing well. What do? You start giving. This is why you give now. Structured giving, proper giving, where now philanthropists are born. So there are 2 ways of giving, according to me. There's the tithing and offering, and there's the giving. So in tithes and offering, the anchor verse is on Malachi. It's in Malachi 3:10-12. And I've broken this up intentionally so that we can see the different points that I want to make here. So the Bible says, bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. Test me in this, says the Lord Almighty, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates. Floodgates, guys, not gate, not door, not window. Floodgates. Floodgate means there's a lot of water being held back by a floodgate. So just how much of a blessing is behind that floodgate, yeah, of heaven, and pour out so much blessing that there will not be enough room to store it. And God has said what? Test me in this, yeah? Then he says again, I will prevent pests from devouring your crops. So our tithe acts as our insurance. I will encourage us, those of us who are not tithers, just try for like 3 months straight without breaking to tithe on your gross. Don't tithe on net. Try tithe on your gross, and see just that wonderful effect it has of insuring you from small, stupid blows that life throws at you. I remember when I'd learned this verse, and I'd tithe 1 month, and then I'd forget another month, or another time I'd say, pesa ni nyingi, and then I would not tithe. Do you know I would get a financial hit that was, I kid you not, equivalent to the amount that I ought to have paid in tithe. Either my tires would burst, the car would break down, and the amount that the mechanic was asking for was ridiculous, suspiciously the same amount as what I would have paid for tithe. So pay your tithe so that God can prevent pests from devouring your crops. And your crops are your income and your money, yeah? And the vines in your field will not drop their fruit before it is ripe. Basically, what does this mean? You will not get an opportunity before you're ready. Things will not fall on your lap before you're ready. An opportunity will not present itself before you're ready with the money. A house will not become available for purchase before you're ready. It will come when the time is right, yeah? So your fruits will only drop when they're ripe, not before they're ripe. So you'll not have any loss, yeah? Then all the nations will call you blessed, for yours will be a delightful land. Don't we want to be called blessed? Isn't that an amazing thing? And then giving, yeah? So the first one was tithes and offerings, which I believe we pay our tithes. We don't give our tithes. We pay our tithe. It's like a tax, and it's for our own good. It's for our insurance. And then giving to those in need, Matthew 6:20, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven. And trust me, don't think I'm saying that you wait until baby step number 7 to give. We'll be giving, but now in this section of baby step number 7, we are over generous, as we are the philanthropists of the world now. Yeah. So Matthew 6 says, store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moth and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. So when I was reading this verse back when I was trying to learn about money from a biblical perspective, I asked myself, but how do I store up treasure in heaven? How do I do that? I'm not in heaven, so how am I getting my money in heaven? Like, how am I storing it up? Then I came across Mark 10, which said, go sell everything that you have, give to the poor, and you'll have treasure in heaven. So in you giving to the poor, whenever they have need, it's you sending like an installment. Yeah, it's like an investment you're making to heaven. And God owes no man, I think the Bible says, yeah? God owes no man. So he will always pay you back for whatever you've given to any of his children. And then the next one is 1 Timothy 6:17-19, which says, command those who are rich in this present world. Remember we're in baby step number 7. Command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, not to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but to put their hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. Command them to do good, to be rich in good deeds, and to be generous and willing to share. In this way, they will lay up treasure for themselves as a firm foundation for the coming age, so that they may take hold of the life that is truly life. Then the other verse I would encourage us to read and meditate on is 2 Corinthians 9:11, which says, you will be enriched in every way, so that you can be generous on every occasion. and through us, your generosity will result in thanksgiving to God. Have you ever experienced this? I don't know if any of you have. I have, where sometimes a need arises for someone else, not your own, but someone else, and you really want to give. You really, like deep down in your heart, you really want to give, but you have nothing. You don't have. But God promises that we will be enriched in every way so that you can be generous on every occasion. It doesn't matter. Whenever someone comes and they're in it, you're like, yeah. You'll be that guy. Don't worry, I'll sort you out. Yeah, so that your generosity will result in thanksgiving to God. Yeah. Then Isaiah 32:8, it says, but generous people plan. It doesn't just happen. You plan to do what is generous. Yeah. And they stand firm in their generosity. Generous people plan to do what is generous and they stand firm in their generosity. So there's an argument that I've come across that people say when you reach maybe step number 7, you need to split your income into 3, 33% to giving, 33% to life, and 33% to investments. It's up to you. Yeah, it's up to you how you choose to split your money during this stage of life. But then just plan for it. Don't just make it a spur of the moment thing. Of course, leave something for grace and for the Spirit to lead you, but plan to give. Then Deuteronomy 14:28-29, which now goes to the planning, and I can let you know how I've adopted this verse or this section of the Bible. It says, at the end of every 3 years, bring all the tithes of that year's produce and store it in your towns, so that the Levites who have no allotment or inheritance of their own, and the foreigners, the fatherless, and the widows who live in your towns may come and eat and be satisfied, and so that the Lord your God may bless you in all the works of your hands. So I was curious as to how I could apply this one. I know it's in the Old Testament, and we always argue that people who argue that no, we're not under the law anymore, we are under grace, and therefore we should just follow whatever the New Testament says. But I decided to use the Old Testament as a floor, and then I use the New Testament as the ceiling, because the New Testament there's no limit as to how much you can give. So this I used as training wheels for my giving habit. Yeah. So I decided, you know what, every month, I can't wait for 3 years to be over. I'll have eaten the money because I can lack discipline sometimes. So I said, what? Let me divide that. How does that work out to a monthly affair? And I realized that it comes to around 3.3% of my gross income every month I can set aside for giving. So I have a budget every month in my line items where it reads giving 3.3%, and I know what 3.3% of my gross is, and that's what I set aside for giving. So whenever someone comes, if the 3.3% is still there, they get something. Yeah. So plan to be generous and budget for it, like I said. And then the other type of giving is giving to ministry. I'd advise us to go read Haggai 1:5-11 and meditate on it. And it says, now this is what the Lord Almighty says, give careful thought to your ways. Maybe I should pause here. Have you ever wondered sometimes how you've made money has come, you know you've been paid, but you don't know where it's gone. And you can't account for it. And you can't ukiuliza pesa zilienda wapi, unajiuliza zilienda wapi. Lakini sinililipo. Ama you did some deal and you got some money, or you sold some things and you got some money, but you can not account for it. Now let me tell you where we went wrong. You and I, because I was there. So it says, give careful thought to your ways. And this is God talking. You have planted much, but harvested little. Mazetu umefanya kazi the whole month. You eat, but never have enough. You drink, but never have your fill. You put on clothes, but are not warm. You earn wages, only to put them in a purse with holes in it. I was like, my purse has holes. This is what the Lord Almighty says. Give careful thought to your ways. Go up into the mountains and bring down timber and build my house, so that I may take pleasure in it and be honored, says the Lord. You expected much, but see, it turned out to be little. What you brought home, I blew away. Why? Declares the Lord Almighty. Because of my house, which remains in a ruin, while each of you is busy with your own house. Therefore, because of you, the heavens have withheld their dew, and the earth its crops. I called for a drought on the fields and the mountains on the grain, the new wine, the olive oil, and everything else on the ground produces, on people and livestock, and all the labor of your hands. Can you imagine? Because the Lord's house remains a ruin. So what did I learn from here? When I was like, but God, Parklands Baptist, which is where I worship. I'm like, Parklands Baptist Church is already built. Like, it's not in ruins. It's perfect. What can I do? I'm late. And then I realized that there are times when the church calls for drives to do something, or they're expanding here, or they want to remodel something here. And I was like, oh, I still have a chance. Okay, let me do that. So there's a time I did that, and I had actually set aside, or had declared, me and God had a conversation, and he planted a number in my head. And I was like, oh yeah, that's a doable number. And then I started trying to collect the money, or saving the money, because I had a deadline for, or the church had a deadline for that project. And for some reason, the money was not coming. Like, it was not adding up to the figure we had agreed with God. So I went back to God and told him, oh yeah, you're the one who put this figure in my head. Abu, you figure it out and bring me the money, because me, I'm not going. I've already told them this is the amount I'm going to give. You can't let me not meet my target. And guess what? Just like that, somehow in like 3 months' time, I had accumulated the money. From one transaction comes, someone says, help me with this transaction, help me with this transaction, and the money came after I'd given God threats, like I always do. I say, the day I'll go to heaven, I'll get a whooping of a lifetime. And the money came, and I was able to do that. And from me doing this and doing the financial freedom class for Pastor Munene, that's how I managed to get money enough for the house that I bought in Vipingo. Because before that, I didn't have enough money. It was there, but it was a fraction of it. And I wasn't willing to buy anything, because like I said, I was a hoarder. I liked seeing the money just piling up, because it gave me some sense of security. But then now I got pushed. And like I said, your fruit will not fall before it's ripe, like I said in Malachi 3. So all these verses that I had been meditating on and learning and studying all came together, and it actually helped me make decisions in the end. And then I'd also advise us to read 1 Chronicles 29, 1 to 20. It's quite long, but it actually walks us through the time when David was actually leading his people in giving all they had, the jewels and stuff that they had for the building of the temple. And that's the end of my presentation.
All right, thank you, Juliet, for sharing with us and taking us through the baby steps. We really do appreciate, and thank you everyone who is still here, still taking notes and moving on. I want to do something interesting here. One, I'd like to ask us if we can give us the next 35 minutes or thereabouts. I'd like to still bring our third speaker. It's 5 p.m. We're supposed to end at 5 p.m. And I'd like to still have Ken and Salam come in and share with us. And if you are at the place where you would say, you know what, yeah, let Ken and Salam come and share, why don't you go ahead and give me a thumbs up? You know, like the one I've put up. You know, let me see a thumbs up. Just go ahead and give a thumbs up, and I will be able to do that, because you know, I believe that what they have to share with us is very, very beneficial and very key. And I would encourage all of us to stay. Don't leave. I see 23 thumbs up. I was hoping to see 270 something, maybe 280 thumbs up. And would have been able to do that. But I see quite a number of you. What I'm going to do is I'd like to still invite Ken and Salam to come in and share with us. They will answer your questions in regard to insurance and how to use insurance as an investment vehicle, and what are the pitfalls, because they're there, where people assume that they have invested, whereas what they have actually done is they're giving the insurance company money. And if you have friends who need to be here, it might be good to just go ahead and alert them and just tell them, hey, come in, so that we can be able to do this. And then we'll try and answer whatever question you have. Juliet can answer those questions if you ask them in the chat section. She can be able to answer those questions in the chat section. But you know, allowing Ken and Salam to be able to continue to share. And so Ken and Salam, karibuni sana. If you could go ahead and unmute your microphones and step in here. Allow me to very quickly step in here, every one of you who is here. It's good to have you here. I would encourage that you would hang in there. We have Ken and Salam coming in to share with us. Remember, this is a rerun. of the masterclass that happened on Saturday. I've seen some questions that have been addressed to me, and quite a number of other questions. I will answer them, not in a bad way, but allow me to say this. We have a class called Walking in Financial Freedom. It's a 10-week class, runs every Saturday at 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. And we get to engage and pick all these things that are being shared here, and we go deeper and we address these issues, and it's such a transformational class. And so I would encourage you, because I'm realizing, looking at the time and looking at the sessions, we may not be able to answer every question that is being asked on this rerun, but we do encourage you to sign up for that class. We'll be able to deal with all those issues, and I believe that in the chat section, all those details have been put there, how you can be part of that class and how you can be able to participate. And so please take a hold of those, use them. But before you go, you need to listen to Ken and Salam. They share some very key information, especially on insurance. Listen to this. It's good to have you in. And I believe that we are going to be blessed by your sharing. And so, Ken and Salam, karibuni sana. Go ahead and unmute your microphone and take it from here. I believe that what you have to share, I just feel very strongly that what you have to share is very beneficial. So I don't want to cut you off. I don't want to say, you go ahead. Here you are. And everyone who is here, welcome together with me, Ken and Salam. And if you know anyone who needs to be here, who had said maybe they can't, they are late or whatever, tell them we have the next speaker just beginning. And so Ken and Salam, go ahead. And we do apologize that we've not kept time as we had promised. Forgive us for that. I believe we'll be able to catch up. Ken.
Yes. Hello, everybody. My name is Ken, here with my friend Salam. Okay. We're going to try and make it brief. I know there's quite a bit that has gone on. It's like drinking from a fire hose. Indeed, there's been a lot of information that has come to us, and that's very, very useful. Salam, you want to introduce yourself so that we do this quickly and keep time.
Okay, good evening. My name is Salam. Looking forward to sharing with you. Ken, go ahead.
Yes, Salam and I run a business together. It's called Dawit Insurance. Basically, what we do is to help business owners and indeed individuals take care of their most valuable assets. And the tool that we have selected to do is to work through and help people with their insurance. Long and short, our experience started having had not a very good chance or experience with insurance, where a company didn't get paid. And we decided this can be done better. So can we actually get out there and help people with insurance, and particularly ensure that should there be a claim, that the insurance company responds in the way that they expect. And therefore, what we say is that we match business owners and indeed individuals' expectations to the insurer's reality, and that reality is captured in a policy document. Now, I know one of the things that has been going on here is how do we take care of the wealth? For example, we had Leonard earlier who was talking about investing and all that kind of thing. But you realize the very first thing that you have that you need to take care of is you. You know, what you really have in your youth is your energy and your time. And therefore, when you think about these things and you're thinking about investment, you're thinking about it, what is the highest and best use of your time? Yeah. What is this thing that you can be committing yourself to even as we go along? So I'll imagine and just walk through what I'd call shall I call it life cycle? No. Yeah. So I come fresh from college. Yay, life is good. Getting a first job, you know. And then as life would have it, you know, that's the age when things begin to happen, you know, and you see an uncle who has gotten ill and they didn't have insurance. And we are unable to connect two and two together. Because if just you're seeing that thing is happening to other people who are way outside there. Some of the ways that you can protect yourself is to have the most basic thing. National Hospital Insurance Fund. yeah, to take care of some of those things. We don't realize that as soon as you step into the job market, the reality is the world begins to expect from you. So your families are waiting, you have parents, and so you become the social insurance, as it were. Here we call them harambe and things like those, right? So you become part of that social insurance. That's why people will come and ask you, idea because of this situation, because of that other situation. And I think it's wisdom for us to begin to think, and I like what the previous speaker talked about, baby steps, So start there with NHIF. And then take out NHIF for your parents. Imagine it's 5,000 shillings, it's 500 shillings a month and 6,000 bob a year. And then at the worst case scenario, you have at least their medical taken care of. Because one of the things that we don't realize is that we work so hard, but we also want to begin to protect these efforts that we are making as we go along, okay? So this is also a nice time to begin thinking, how do I make sure that my ability to work in itself is taken care of? So there are basic things. You're fresh, you've begun working, you're 25 years old now, you have money coming in, and you immediately go and buy a car. I mean, yeah, we need to show people that we're beginning to make it. We begin buying flossets, not assets, things to floss with flosset. Yeah, so you're there and you're flossing with your car, but you, the individual, you had a car accident. I think you had, she's called Lillian. Her insurance company paid her vehicle and she was able to pull that money and do something important with it. But that's not always the case. The accident could be quite severe to the effect that now it affects you. And what happens to you thereafter, So there are situations that will come up, you have big medical bills to be taken care of. Now, if you have a good employer, then maybe that doesn't become an issue, right? Okay, because the medical from your employer will take care of you. But the worst case scenario is now you cease to be useful to your employer owing to the injuries that happened to you from the accident. Then what next? Okay, so I encourage people to think about things like a personal accident. Personal accident is very, very affordable. You own the car. I mean, a personal accident, for example, for 1 million shillings worth of cover is just under 4,000 shillings, at least for people who are 40 and below. It's just about, and so it doesn't cost a lot of money to protect that you yourself, the asset that is making the money. Okay, so that's something that you should be able to consider. And at that point, well, you don't have so many responsibilities and things to take care of. You can begin to enjoy compound interest by thinking through things like unit trust investments, and like you right, and I know those are things that will pay you 9% or thereabout, and those are good numbers for you. You remember the illustration given by Leonard about his employer. I mean, his landlord, who is his employee, basically, and a fieka, and at 3%. And then, so those are some of the things that we begin to look at. At this point, we've also seen people's lives go into disarray, yeah, because of some crazy illnesses that happen. So the medical insurance that you have with your employer could take care of you, no problem, okay? But think about a stroke, those diseases that carry on for a long time, cancer that carries on for a long time. You have opportunity to take care of those things, and they happen. They're called critical illnesses. In fact, and there's a small terminology I want to help us with. When we talk about insurance, there's something called insurance and assurance. I'm sure people have wondered what's the difference here. Yeah. So insurance takes care of things that could happen. Assurance takes care of things that will happen, that they are certain to happen. Death is one of those things. That's what we call our life assurance. Okay, so that's a big difference there, and I think it's useful for us to note. So things like stroke, things like heart attack, major organ transplant, that will take you out. Yeah. If you had begun savings, if you had begun, like we just learned, you already have your emergency fund and you have built your proper fund, which is 6 months. Yeah, I think within the group, we have people who can talk about what cancer can be, at approximately 150,000 per, what is that, per treatment session. And then you're prescribed for 8. It'll quickly run down what you have. So those are some of the things that we should begin to think about. Remember earlier we were talking about the social insurance. We all were here during COVID, and the challenges of so-and-so has died, we changa. Another one dies, we changa. Another one dies, we changa. That fatigue sets in quickly. And then suddenly, if you are in a college group or in a school group, you used to changa 100,000 in a few seconds. Okay. Now, even reaching 20,000, guys are tired. They're like, dude, sort yourself out. There's something called last expense. Okay. And I'll give you an illustration with the last expense, for example, which covers husband, wife, 4 children, mother, parents and parents-in-law. For a 50,000 shillings benefit, that is 2,000 bob, covering all those individuals. So I think it's about time that we begin to think about the practical side of things and to begin to set these things in place, to begin to set these things in place. Now, the other thing that I think would be happening around this time is for you to think about what we call a term insurance. A term insurance is one of my favorites because, and we need to delink this investment-based type of insurances. We'll have them as endowment policies. We'll have them as what they call education policies and what have you, and they're useful, okay? And they have a purpose. In fact, I will venture to say, for many of us, we yet do not have a structured way of saving, okay? Take out a life insurance. Let the money leave your bank as soon as it hits there, because then you begin that process. And I think it is useful to have some structure in our lives. We begin to fail because we haven't planned through, okay? I know many of us have, sometimes are thinking, I want to live a healthy life. Okay, what does that mean? But because you haven't planned your meals, you will end up eating the KFCs of the day and the things which are outside there, which are not very, very healthy. So let's start planning these things. Now, what I would suggest is we don't realize as we go along, now you're getting married, yeah? The wife is in the house, so you have obligations which are more than yourself at this point, okay? And suddenly now you begin to realize that it's not only about me, okay? And these people depend on me. So that's some of the reasons that we might want to take out the term policies, which I highly encourage because the pricing is low and you can get a very, very high kind of coverage for it, okay? And the endowment and the unit trust, they have their place, okay? And they are very, very good investments, so consider that. But now the wife has come, guess what happens? You begin to enjoy God's blessings. You don't even know it until the day you need to move house. When the truck comes and you're wondering, my goodness, when did we accumulate all this wealth? Alafu mtu anaacha gas open, unapita hapo, inawaka, and all your home, all your world's possessions that you have accumulated go in a freak fire. Okay? There is a solution called a home insurance. Because what we're trying to do is to protect what you have already done, so that then you have the bandwidth to do new and greater, better things, okay? So that is something that you can be able to do. And as we go on with our employment, we don't realize when we are sitting to negotiate for new opportunities that my employer had given me a medical insurance. My employer had also given me a group life insurance. My employer had given me what we call the WIBA policy, which pays out 8 times annual earnings in event of death or permanent incapacity during work. Yeah, and that becomes a problem. Okay, so when you're going out to negotiate for a new assignment, please remember those things that your employer had, or consider those as you're negotiating for new and better terms, okay? Now, during this time, you want to go on a holiday, you want to travel. My friend, until you've traveled and your baggage has disappeared, you are going to this destination and your baggage went to the left. And you had traveled for 3 days to Dubai, your baggage went to Brazil. I don't know where it went. By the time it comes back to you, you've had to spend money to do that. You know, you've had to, or now these funny things that happen. I don't know whether you guys have seen that place where you need to cross the road, you have to press a button, you wait for the lights to change, and then you cross. Lakini wewe na Kenyan style yako unakuja una jaywalk, okay? And then there's an accident that happens. Those guys can come and ask you, can come and bill you for that. Now you go on, life is good, and you decide, let me start business. You pull out your life savings and you plant them in a business. And as you go on with your business, some freak fire comes and takes out your stock, okay? Or as you're doing your work, if you're a professional, you give a professional error. And somebody sues you and says, you cost me money, okay? Those are some of the things that you can take out insurance for. And I like what Leonard was talking about. Do you know you can actually insure rent? So that in event that the house is not available for occupancy because of things like a flood or a tree falling on it or things like those, your rent is not some of what is lost. And again, guess what? In that freak fire in your business, you have employees, you will not fire them because kulichomeka. You still have to pay salos, eh? Those are some of the things that we can take care of when we talk about insurance. And then now the business is growing and all things are nice are happening. And then you think, wait a minute, for me to be able to scale, I think I need partners. Yeah, good idea. Let's get a partner. And the guy comes and one is very good in marketing and the other one is very good in the operations of the business. And this marriage, this thing is happening. It's really happening. And by freak chance, the guy who sits in operations or the guy who sits in marketing dies. What happens to the business? The business is incomplete. Yeah. Of course, now you're talking about partnerships here. Okay. So the family of the deceased come and says, by the way, my husband was an investor in this business. So I want some. Okay, then you carry an interesting conversation like, what do you contribute? You can actually take insurance on your partners so that you can be able to, in this unlikely event, pay off your partner and be able to run a business or have enough money to get somebody else who can come in and be able to run the business. And then during retirement, did you take enough time to enjoy what we call compound interest by thinking through your retirement plans? And they're there, you know, and many people leave their retirement plans with this employer A because they had a scheme. Then you go to another employer, they set you up on something new. Then you move to the employer C, you know, so you're not consolidating those things. It is actually possible to be able to consolidate all those things and they will help you. So I'm being very careful with time. I don't want to talk too much, but I hope I've talked through some sort of a life cycle. and that would potentially be helpful. But we cannot leave until you've listened to my precious here who has incredible nuggets. Salam. You're
Yes.
up.
All right. Thank you very much. I encourage everyone. Yes, Ken mentioned, and it's written there. My name is Salam. I am one of the alumni of the class Working in Financial Freedom. It's been an amazing journey. Everything that you have heard here, every presentation, everything that has been spoken of, is something that we learned and will continue to learn under the mentorship of Pastor Munene. You know, one of the things that I have learned is that if you want to create wealth, you need to hang out with people who know what wealth is all about. Number one is God, you know, he has all the principles. If you do not have a relationship with God, there is no way, you know, you can make progress in wealth creation. The other thing is find a mentor, find someone who can walk this journey with you. Thirdly is read books, research, a lot of investment. We invest a lot of our time on social media, a lot of our time on, hey, Akina so and so, you know, these people are making money. These guys on social influencers have bought this car, he bought this car for her. But we are not thinking about what is going on in our home turf. So think about it. Where are you spending your time? Who are you hanging out with? Who are your mentors? Who are the people pushing you to create wealth? And why do we create wealth anyway? Is it so that we can show off? Is it so that we can, you know, say, I have arrived, you know, this is my thing and this is where I stay? Is it to show off, or is it to build God's kingdom? As Christians, our first obligation is to build the kingdom and ensure that the gospel of God is preached. That is my vision, and it's the same for Ken. Now, when we are blessed with money, what we do to it, what, you know, are we being good stewards of it? So find people who can show you what to do, because, you know, I had so many things to say, but one of, I mean, most of the people have shared it, but I'll share it here with you because it's a very interesting comment I have here. Your boss or your job is not there to make you rich. Your boss is not the one who's going to make you rich. The salary you receive is a seed you must sow to make wealth. So what happens is we use our seed, we eat it. You know, Pastor Munene says, stop eating your children. We eat our seed. Immediately the money comes in, so many things are there. You know, you have all these lists. So one of the things I can say is working in the financial freedom class opened my eyes to see, wait a minute, God is my source, you know. God is the one that gives me everything. Somebody read the scripture in 1 Chronicles 29:11-12. You are the source of wealth and honor, and you rule all over. The day you discover that God owns everything that you've always wanted, you know, a lot of things will begin to make sense to you. And that pressure of, I must create wealth. And then some of us think, wealth will come to us because we have fasted 21 days and we go to church, we have certain things that we do, money come. We are there saying, money come forth now, but there are principles that you have already learned from the other principles. People that you can talk to guide you, don't make the same mistakes. We have all made mistakes when it comes to money, but if there are people who have gone ahead of you, why don't you learn from them? So it's classes like this, working in financial freedom, that we come to learn. I personally come back to the class to give back and share some of the stories and experiences I've had in that class. So I look forward to seeing all of you 246 in that class. Come and learn. This is not quick. This masterclass is not a quick fix thing, where you're given the notes. It's a journey. You remember Leonard shared and said it took him 15 years learning, 15 years researching. You make a mistake, you come back, you learn. So it takes time. So we are inviting you to come in and join the class, come in and learn from other people. Some of the things that we did as business owners, as employers, I really don't make sense. Very, very, we've made very big mistakes in our business life, in the entrepreneurial journey. So my parting shot to you is, don't neglect wealth protection. It's very easy to work on wealth creation. We can read books, we can attend master classes like this, go on YouTube and learn things, but we tend to ignore our wealth protection. So my advice to you is, what strategies have you put in place? What plans have you made when it comes to protecting your wealth? We have had experiences where people have bought very luxurious cars and they have them covered on third party. And when they get into an accident, they call you and say, hey, by the way, Ken, is my car, see, my car is insured, because they are looking forward to hearing that it was covered on comprehensive insurance, only to discover that they sent us an email and said, hey, my friend, this month I don't have money, you put that car on third party. And then the risk happens, they are in, they have lost that entire Range Rover. So how do you sit down and think? The greatest strategist I know is God. God planned everything in advance, from creation to sending his only son. I mean, everything about God is very strategic. Strategy helps you move forward. Strategy helps you make progress. So if you have no strategy in your financial planning, then it makes you remain where you are. So think about it. What steps can I take to create wealth, but also what steps can I take to protect my wealth? Ken talked about medical insurance. We live in a society where when somebody is sick, we expect the community to take care of our issues. We are constantly doing fundraising for medical insurance, for funeral insurance. The other day there was a big, huge debate on Twitter about retrenchment, and somebody said, I didn't know that there's some insurance that I could have taken while being employed to be able to cover myself when I lost my job. There are products out there that you can use. So really, my encouragement is go out there, study and research, and hang out with people who have gone this journey before. And one of the ways you can do that is stepping into a class like Walking in Financial Freedom. Information, wisdom will keep you and it will protect you. So that is my parting shot to you. Last, a lot of scripture has been shared. Ecclesiastes chapter 1, go read it, verse 1 to 6. It says, send your grain across the seas, and in time profits will flow back to you. But divide your investments among many places, for you do not know what risks might lie ahead. So King Solomon himself speaking right here, and he's saying, divide your investments among many places. And do not know what kind of risks lie ahead. So as Christians, our work is to ensure that we put in place wealth protection measures and risk mitigation measures around us to be able to protect the wealth that we have worked so hard for. So take up your, go back, make a list of the things that you need to do. You might be saying, I don't have much money to be able to, this whole wealth protection story is a luxury. I mean, I'm living from paycheck to paycheck. My money comes in, it's out. How am I ever going to plan this? Go ahead, join the Walking in Financial Freedom class. There's an exercise we do in that class. Come in and check it out. You will begin to discover you have money. It's very easy how we human beings think. We have money to go on and take a mortgage and pay the bank a certain amount of money every month. But when it comes to saving, say 10% of our income, we struggle. But when it is the bank demanding for it, we will find that money and pay. So really, I will stop here and ask, what is the condition of your heart? What is the state of your heart? Wealth has two aspects, the tangible side and the intangible side. Which one are you investing in? Are we only investing on the tangible side, money, career, all these other things that we want to see, the car, the house? There's also the side of the intangible, the people that you live with, your children, your wife, your husband, your relationship, all form part of wealth. So think about it and say, I need to make decisions today creating and protecting my wealth, and working towards designing something for you, just as the way you would design a strategy for an organization. You look at yourself as a person and design a strategy for your life, for your wealth, and look at investing and always researching and studying and growing in the area of your wealth protection. Thank you very much. Pastor Munene, over to you.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Salam and Ken, for that beautiful presentation. And I hope it has helped people be able to come to the place of saying, hey, we will work on this area. We will work on this area. I love what, Ken, you mentioned, how, and Salam also, how somebody can buy a car today and, you know, and they think they have insurance because it has third party, and, you know, and they begin driving it. You know, I've seen people lose their cars because of that. I normally tell people third-party insurance is not insurance at all. Thank you for bringing that up. And just the way Ken you approached it, just throwing in nuggets little by little, little by little. We need to actually go back and sit and analyze, answer the questions that you are asking, because it's so important for us to be able to do so. I'd like to say at this point, I'd like to bring this to a close. But before we bring this to a close, let me ask all of us to go ahead and do the poll. I've just put up a poll, and I'm sure it's right in front of you. It's right in front of your screen. You can be able to answer that poll. If you could do so immediately, so that we can be able to, I know it has appeared in your, it's what I'm calling an investment profile. If all of us can be able to answer those, I'd like actually to go ahead and and get all of us who are here to do the same poll now that you're still here, so that you will not feel as though it's just something that happened and you're wondering, how can you be able to be part of it? I'd like to go ahead and put up the same poll that we did on Saturday, so that, you can be able to get it. I know it's not everyone who was able to access it, but let me see. I'm believing that it will still be able to come forth. I believe you can be able to see it on your screen. I believe you can be able to see it on your screen. And what I would want to do, it's a poll. What I want you to do is go ahead and just answer those questions. Does it appear on your screen? I believe it does. It's telling me that it's appearing on your screens. And so go ahead and answer that poll. Those questions, when you answer them, they're just 4 questions, and when you answer them, we will not know who answered what. It doesn't give us that information. It just gives us your answer. In fact, it just for me on my side, it will just show me a graph, and I can be able to interpret the graph. And so if you can be able to see it, I don't see anyone answering. I don't see anyone answering it yet. And so I'm encouraging all of us, just go ahead and answer it, because I believe you should be seeing it. And if you can see it, give me a thumbs up. If you cannot see it, raise your hand, and then we can know whether to go ahead and do it or we just stop. Because if you can't, I see thumbs up, that means people can see it. Just go ahead and answer the questions. They're pretty straightforward, and be as truthful as possible. No one will be able to know your answer. No one will be able to know who answered what. All I will get on my side is just the results. And so waiting to see whether anyone has answered. I don't see anyone answering. I don't see anyone answering yet. I've not gotten any results, so I can't even close it. And so just waiting for questions. And if I am not wrong, they're pretty easy. It's just clicking and you're done. Okay. Waiting. There are 52 of us in the group right now, but yet I don't see any answers so far. And about 2 minutes have elapsed, and it's the kind of survey that you can do in less than 30 seconds. So I don't know what is delaying. Can somebody help me understand why It's delaying. I see some of you raising your hand. Let me tell you, if you have an old, yes, Henry, do you want to unmute and tell me what's going on? Henry, you can unmute your microphone and just speak.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, Pastor. What popped up on my screen was the complete poll, such that I only saw, for example, in question number 1, I saw 95% yes, and 5% I believe no. So I'm not able to input the answers.
Okay, interesting. All right, thank you. All right, then is that the same case, Frida? Frida, I see your hand up. Dora, I see your hand up. I mean, you can go ahead and answer me.
Yes.
Okay.
So from my end, when I click on the polls, I can see that 95% have answered. Oh, it has disappeared.
Yeah, I have removed it. Well, anyway, then let me go ahead and share the results from Saturday, because then the results you're seeing on your side are the results of what people answered on Saturday. The interesting thing on my side, it's not giving me that, it's giving me 0. Because it's saying no one has answered out of the 45 people. So I don't have the answers. Let me see if I can be able to view them. Yeah, it's actually telling me no one has answered. Let's try this again. Let's try this again. So now do you see a new poll that you can answer? The people that were speaking to me have disappeared. Dora, help me.
Hi, Pastor.
Do you see a new poll?
I don't see a new poll. It says poll in progress, but I can't see it on my screen. However, the first poll, I could see the answers coming in.
Okay.
Yeah, but I can't share the results.
All right, thank you. Thank you then. Yes, Joseph, you've raised your hand like you want to say something.
Yes, I was just saying that it quickly came up and then I submitted the poll and I think it quickly closed it. So I've been able to submit my responses twice.
Okay. Oh, wow. Interesting. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Joseph, for helping me with that understanding.
I can actually see the results on my side. Yes.
All right. Then share the results because I can't see the results.
Should I say how many people voted for what?
Yes.
Okay, so do you have a job or run a business? 96% said yes, 4% said no. The second question, do you have savings? 84% said yes, 16% said no. Third question, have you made any investments? 80% yes, 20% no. And number 4, if you lost your job or business today, below 3 months, 40%, between 3 and 6 months, 40%, between 6 months and 1 year, 20%. I can live without my job, 0%.
Okay. The purpose, by the way, of that statistics. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dora, for reading that for us. Allow me to say the purpose of that poll is to help you see that sometimes what we call investments is actually not investments, because what we do is, because I have, let's say, 5,000 shillings in the circle, or I have put 10,000 shillings on stocks and shares, I assume, yeah, I'm doing okay. I have investments. But the last question is meant to actually ask, because if you remember, when Leonard Mcharo was doing his presentation, he said, I am financially independent. I can stop everything I am doing now and go and live in the village, and I will stew be able to live a great life. Why? Because the passive income out of his investments has surpassed his salary and everything. And that's how come at the age of 44 years, Leonard Mcharo, retired. He said, I do not need employment anymore. I have enough savings. I have enough cash flow out of my passive income. I can be able to live without working. And that at that point in time is when he decided, from now going forward, I want to live for significance. I want to live for something significant. And if you remember, he picked the Lord's Prayer and he said, out of the Lord's Prayer, where it talks about daily bread, he said, I want to fix myself here. I want God to use me to provide daily bread for other people. And that's how they began to run and scale up their company to the point where I'm picking different things he said in the course of his presentation. He shared and said how his company, they are at the place where now they are providing employment to about 1,000 people. Can you imagine? Just think about it. You're providing salary, you're providing employment to 1,000 people. That simply means you've gotten to the place where you've scaled up and now you're doing things not for yourself, but for the benefit of other people. You're running a business, but it's not because you need the money, but it's because you want to bless others. And the other thing he does is helping other people be able to make investments. Now, that really is where you begin. You go back and you ask yourself, I work, yes. Because how many people say they work? About 94%. Then how many said they have savings? The number, I think, dropped to about 84. How many said, they can be able to live for 1 to 3 months? It came to 40. How many said they can be able to live 6 months to... I'm mixing up the figures here. But when it came to how many of you can be able to live without a salary, as in you don't need to work again, it came to 0. It came to 0. That simply means there's something that needs to be sorted out. And I'd like tonight to simply say it's possible for us to be able to sort that out. And I would encourage you, sign up for this class because it will change your life. What's her name? Juliet, when she was doing her presentation, talked about how the class changed her mindset. It helped her to be able to change her mindset completely. And I'd like to just tell you, because Mcharo was speaking about the change of mindset, this class will change your mindset. And I look forward to seeing you in the class. The class begins this Saturday. We have a launch class at 6 p.m. to 7:30 this Saturday. And the launch class is open to everyone. Whether you have made payment for the class or not, the class is open for you. The encouragement is that you would actually go ahead and join the WhatsApp group, because there's a WhatsApp group for that class where we do all the communication, where the link for the class, the Zoom link will be posted. We encourage you to go ahead and join that as WhatsApp group. Once you're in the WhatsApp group, a lot of information will be provided. We encourage you to go ahead and make payment. I'll tell you about the payments of the class just now. We encourage you to make payment because immediately you make payment, you have the manual sent to you. The manual will be sent to you and all the other details that you need. How does the class happen? The class happens through 4 modules. The class, the Walking in Financial Freedom, happens through 4 modules. Module number 1 is the manual that you receive and you're able to begin to work through, because it has questions and things you study and you're able to begin to do that by yourself. Module number 2 is the class itself. Every Saturday, 6 p.m. to 7:30 for 10 weeks. Every Saturday, 6 p.m. to 7:30 on Zoom. It happens on Zoom, just the same way we came in here. And that will be for 10 weeks. That's module number 2. Module number 3 is the books you'll be given. Because by the time the class ends, you're required to read through 8 books. You'll be given 8 books. They will be sent to you on soft copy, PDF. And you're able to read those. Why? Because, reading, as Mcharo said, stop going to social media, look for information, grow yourself. And you and I agree. and I think I can ask that question. When Leonard Mcharo was speaking, you literally sat back and asked yourself, what was I taught? Because it looks like the things I was taught, are very different from what this gentleman was taught. I remember one time listening to him and I asked him, Mcharo, allow me to ask you a question. Did you go to the same schools that I went through? Because I wasn't taught those things. And he told me, I have read, I've studied, I've asked myself a lot of questions, and they would sit down with the wife and they would discuss and they would say, this is what I learned, this is what I learned, and until they would, begin to formulate their own way forward. And so we give you 8 books that you're supposed to read in 10 weeks. That means you have 2 weeks to rest, but you have to read a book every week. And so that's module number 3. Module number 4 is the WhatsApp group. The purpose of the WhatsApp group is because a lot of group coaching happens there. People discuss, people share what they have learned, people, you're able to share experiences and encourage each other and build each other up. People are able to challenge each other. There's one time we did a class, and there was this gentleman whose salary was about 10,000 shillings. Looks little in modern day Kenya. And so this guy, decided, just like everyone else, I'm going to begin saving. And so he got a piggy bank. A piggy bank, sometimes it's an elephant, sometimes it's just a tin with a hole. And for him, actually, it was a tin with a hole. And he began to put money little by little. He would put 20 shillings. He would put 50 shillings. He would put 100 shillings. That gentleman, one day, I think it was in the course of the class, around week 8, week 9, he had saved, he had put aside money. He had about 23,000 Kenya shillings. And the people sat back and were like, how did you do that based on the salary you had shared? Because people become very vulnerable in their sharings. And he said, well, it's out of the things that, we are being taught in the class. I began to practice some of those things. And I'd like to tell you, by the way, money does come our way. The question is, what do you do with it when it comes? What do you do with it when it comes? And so, long story short, those are the 4 modules. That's how the class happens. You need to be part of that class. What is the cost of the class? I normally, by the way, ask the people right at the end of the class, how much would you pay for this class? How much would you be willing to pay for this class? How much do you think we need to charge for this class? And people give me figures, 70K, 50,000, 20,000, but the class costs 2,500 shillings. That's approximately, really not even approximately, that's a cost. It's 250 shillings a week. We don't charge that because we can't charge more. We don't charge that because it's not possible to charge more. I have had people who are willing to pay more for the class. I have gone to companies where they're like, you know what, Pastor, we will pay more to do that class. And we take them through the class because you do this with organizations, companies, but why do we charge the cost that we do? Because just like Mcharo feels, he needs to provide daily bread for people. For me, I come from the place where I feel it's important to equip people, help people be able to transform and change their lives, help people come to the place where they're able to begin to, to grow themselves. And so the goal is to ensure as many people as possible go through the class. That even if somebody earns a salary of 10,000 shillings a month, they're able to do the class. If somebody earns a salary of 500,000 shillings, they're able to do the class. The person with the highest salary I ever taught in working in financial freedom was a gentleman who came to class, and he was earning a salary of about, his basic salary was about 1.8 million. When you add benefits, it would, and I sat back and I wondered, what is this guy doing in my class? But he had so much debt that he was in serious financial trouble. And he confessed and said, I was about to skip this class because I thought I have done many other classes that are more costly, and I thought this class would not benefit me in any way. But a friend of mine really insisted. And by the time the class was coming to an end, he was out of debt. The lowest income earner I've ever taken through the class was somebody who didn't have a salary. at all. They had no income at all, and they were paid for to be in the class. And interestingly, by the time the class ended, the person had money, even though they still didn't have a job, because of something that we do in the class that I don't want to leak right here. You need to be part of that class, because there's something we talk about called unexpected money. Unexpected money. What do you do with unexpected money? What is unexpected money? You boarded a matatu and somebody paid the ticket for you, or you went into a restaurant, you were about to eat a meal, and somebody walked in, a friend of yours, maybe you are with in school, maybe it's somebody from church, maybe it's one of your colleagues from work, and they come in and they say, I'll pay for you. You know what we normally do with that money? We have no idea where it goes. That is called unexpected money, and you need to begin to be very careful with it. Anyway, allow me to end this and just say it's so exciting that you joined in today for the rerun of the Walking in Financial Freedom Masterclass. It was such a joy having you here. I believe that you have benefited. I believe that this has equipped you, this has grown you, this has challenged you. I look forward to seeing you in the next masterclass. As much as I look forward to seeing you in class, because I'm expecting you to be there on Saturday. By the way, as I said, the class on Saturday is open to everyone. Bring in your friends, bring in your relatives, bring in your cousins. There's something I saw somebody had posted in the chat section, and they had said, I was expecting to be told this, how to invest, these are the investment options. Allow me to say, in Walking Financial Freedom, we don't give you what you're used to. In fact, you need to be there Saturday, because what we share in the launch class, you will sit back and that alone will change your life, will impact you greatly, well, together with what you have learned today. And so I look forward to seeing you on Saturday, 6 p.m. to 7:30. Do not miss. Bring in everyone you can. The whole army, the whole battalion, your boys, all those girls you hang out with, your charmer. Tell them, let's go listen to this. After they listen, they'll make the decision whether they want to stay in class, but it's a launch class. And so bring everyone that you can. Bring your there's one time somebody, they work in Mombasa as a lawyer, and this person brought in the brother, brought in the sister, brought in the cousins, brought everyone they could get, the whole family. There were a family of about 7 people. All of them did class at the same time, and their lives were radically changed. And so I look forward to seeing you on Saturday, but we'll also be doing a masterclass in July, and we'll be communicating and passing that information in the days to come. Several things that you can do if you go to if you find yourself on Facebook, or you find yourself on LinkedIn or Instagram, we have a page. It's called Life Sean Publishing. You can go ahead and like that page, because a lot of information gets passed there on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram. Those are our social media handles, and you can be able to get a lot of information there. Ladies and gentlemen, this is it. We bring it to a close. I am so glad that you joined in. May God bless you. May God be with you. Let me pray, and then we'll close this. And I will open the chat section just before I pray to see whether there's any question that I need to answer. Maybe something that is really, has not been covered in any way. Let me just open the chat section so that I can be able to answer that before I let you go, before I let you run out of here. Yeah, Frida has done the class. She says, I can testify that at the end of the 10 weeks, you will save triple the 2,500. If you apply the principles, you will run. That's not hype. It's true. That's not hype at all. It is true. And so thank you so much, everyone who was here. Let me go ahead and pray so that we can be able to bring this to a close. Heavenly Father, we are so glad and so grateful for the day that you gave us, especially this evening, and just what we have shared. It's my prayer that, Father, you bless each one of these dear ones. May they use the lessons that have been shared here. May they go implement them. May they go put them into practice, and may their lives be completely changed. My prayer is that, Lord, each one of us will walk in financial freedom. And I pray that, Lord, you prepare us for the launch class on Saturday. And may you bring everyone who is here and all those who are there on Saturday. May we learn, may we grow together. I bless these dear ones. I commit them into your hands, Father. And I pray, go with them in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a blessed evening. Kwaherini.